What is up, everybody? Welcome back. Truth and Transparency. We got some topics tonight. It's the big one of the week, Sunday Night Live. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Idaho4, MPD. They label themselves inept. And Matt Moye's house party on 11/12/2022. That's the title of this live production tonight. Truth and Transparency. Appreciate you guys for being here. My name is Lana, and I will be your host with the most. Up top, at some point, you guys are going to have an opinion, I would hope, on the production. Use your features, the thumbs up, the thumbs down. I'm never going to tell you how to think or feel. Hit one of those. Again, we do not, I just don't respect fence riders. Either you like it or you don't, but pick one, pick a thumb. Use the live chat feature, chat amongst yourselves, chat with yourself. Use the chat feature after the video in the comment section. You can put a comment there. Make yourself known. All right, we got some topics. We got some big topics. These are the topics for tonight. We're going to go over our girl Mackenzie Fosberg. We're going to tell you where she came from, and we're going to tell you the years that she got, where she got. And there is a 6-month period where she is not working as a police officer anywhere. We're going to talk about Matt Moye. We're going to talk about blue powder stuff. We're going to talk about Simon and Matt's interview again. And what other topics? Oh, and the inept MPD. I'm going to start there. Or actually, I'm going to start here first, and then we're going to go into the inept MPD. I want you guys to understand something. Rosendahl did not have anything to do with changing the Excel spreadsheet, that log. That had to be Eric Warner, okay? Because he's the one that does the paperwork. And the only time that he can't do the paperwork is when he is working one of those shifts. But if he didn't work the shift that is going to be getting money reimbursed, it can be his signature. He can write it all and all that stuff. So what that means is that it wasn't Rosendahl that went in and was like, I'm going to delete myself and some other people. Somebody else had to have done that because that's not what he does. Okay. So that's something that I just want to make perfectly clear. If you watched yesterday's video, if you did not, please go check that out. We basically blew the lid off. We're going to be talking about that a lot more this week throughout all my different presentations this week. And also I am getting us a digital billboard. I'm going to show you guys how we're going to go about that. I have all the material. Somebody reached out to me that is a local, and they are going, this is what they do. And we're going to get this motherfucking Molly, you in danger billboard going. So now Mackenzie Fosberg, it's going to go backwards, but just want everybody to see that she was hired in 2014 when she was actually still a student at WSU. Okay. So she was hired. That was a reserve in 2014 in January. Then she held that position all the way until she graduated from WSU in 2015. So she was part-time with Moscow Police Department as a reserve. She graduates WSU May. Then she becomes, as you can see here, transferred to right here, the same date. And it was, she's patrol and she's full-time. Again, this is Mackenzie Fosberg. And she does this from 2015. And then she resigns in, what is that, June or August? August 26th, 2020. She resigned. And then if you look at this gap here, it's a 6-month gap. So for 6 months, she's not working anywhere that we know of, but we're gonna hunt this out. But what was Mackenzie doing for these 6 months? From sometime in August till February 6th or 8th of 2021. And then she resigns again on 4/29/2022, which is right. That is the same day, right there around the same day that Jacob Tisdall is doing a plainclothes operation. Like that was one of her last ones as well. It's right around the beginning of May, which is the whole Hudson. Mm-hmm. So this is her training. And I just made little notes for you guys, but this is where I got the information that she did graduate from WSU with a bachelor's. See the date. That's why she became full-time at that point. She went to Basic Academy here, Basic Police Academy. And so that's why she has all those 515 credits. Remember before that, she was just a reserve. So that's down here. It's like a 40 credit hour. And then this is what she did up and until and while she was a reserve. And I want to show you guys just a couple of things that are interesting. As you can see, right? See, police marriage, like what is that? Anyways, but this is out by like Boise, Meridian Patrol. Like, I think she's from that area. Yeah, so she does her Basic Police Academy. So she's in Moscow. She's full time. These are all the different, like I said, her training. Lewiston Crisis Intervention Team Training, February 3rd, 2017, or 2017 rather. That was like a week she was out there. It's Moscow Dynamics of Drugs and Opiate Trends, 12/4/2017. Now, look at this. School Resource Officer, Boise School Resource Officer, Basic 40 course. Again, that's where Dylan Mortensen and Showalter and all them. So I don't know what school she was at, but if she was at Boise High School doing this, she would have been in contact with those kids. Let's see. And she went back. She had just Moscow basic tracking, Post Falls, wide teens. Like, look at this. Like, very, like her, you could see her focus is completely different. She's not doing like target training. You know what I mean? Again, she's back out in Boise area. She did basically like a week out there. So again, when she was out here doing that stuff in Boise, depending on what school she was at, she would have been where some of these kids are from. Dylan Mortensen, all the kids that went to Boise High School. I think Connor went there. I think Showalter went there. And then we got, all right. Now, if you're going to see here, she had to get recertified, TASER recertification, because this is when she came back. So there's that 6 months that she leaves. And I thought maybe for a second, I was like, maybe it was like maternity, you know, but this is she resigned. And if it was for a kid, you wouldn't have to resign. So don't know what she did for 6 months. No idea. Did she go and do something undercover? I have no idea. I wouldn't think so, because I still think that you wouldn't be resigning. I don't know if something happened, but she goes, it's not like she left Moscow and then she comes back. So I don't know what happened for this 6 months, but I thought it was interesting. Interesting enough to say that there's got to be some type of something out there that would explain. I don't know, maybe somebody died, maybe somebody was ill and she took care of them. But anyways, she leaves, but then she comes back to Moscow. Now, when she comes back in that 2021 year, this is when they start heavily doing the party patrols, and she's part of that. So she's tight with all these nighttime dudes. Then all of a sudden, I shouldn't say all of a sudden, I believe it's because of pay, but WSU starts having to get rid of people because of their perversion problem. And I believe that they wanted to show like this, like, I don't know what relationship she developed. Maybe they were working on stuff together. Okay, I'm going to come over to WSU because they're going to pay me more. I'm also going to be able to do what I want, which is this crisis stuff. I'm going to be a hostage negotiator, like all this shit. Okay. So she leaves and she goes, as you can see, she is done basically at the end of the school year. So she rides it out because that's going to be like, you want somebody to pretty much stay until school's letting out, because then it's like a lot less to do. So I can also kind of see that when she came back, she stays for, a whole year and then a couple months. And I could tell that this seems like it's pretty good terms because you're staying until that peak season is up. So this is the date then she would then leave, and then she becomes a WSU officer. And I'm telling you, she made more money, but she still worked the nights because I was able to cross-reference it with, that's how we have all the reports where she's with Curtis Whitman. And so she's working like that 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. shift. So yeah. Also, she did some bike patrol stuff. But right here, I want to show you guys that this is another reason why I think that she lives in Boise, is that she takes this 1 week, see right here, 40 hours, and it's Ada. Okay, so she goes out to Ada, and it's right around the holidays, so it's like the week, either it ends or it's beginning. It's just like she's doing her week there. And I think it's, hey, I can see my family. I'm doing this, training, but I'm also visiting for the holidays. So that's what also leads me to believe that she lives over there. She's from Boise, because she basically set that up to do that and take it there, which is smart. So this person's like a thinker, at least from the logistics standpoint. Yeah. And then so she goes over to WSU. Okay. So the moral of the story of why I wanted to show you this is that could this girl have crossed paths with people from Boise that end up going to Idaho, who now we know about because of this tragedy of 4 students being murdered? And is there any way that there could be, I was always told back in the day, I told you guys this, that someone said that Dylan was a CI. And she wasn't a CI for, it was for the feds. And it's not from it's from somebody. This was before Brian Kober was ever arrested. So my source, and I will never be revealing that source. Okay. WSU, Pullman, and Moscow, they work together on things as much as they want to act like they don't, or as much as they pretend that they have great relationships. They do all this undercover shit. They do all this. They work together. Period. End of story. So that's Mackenzie. Mackenzie knows Jacob Tisdall well. She wouldn't know Noonan's, well, not Noonan's, but she wouldn't know Nate Rosendahl. He wasn't there yet, or he got there like right there at the end. But she would know all the other guys: Shane Gunderson, Aaron Morris, Warner, all the people, that Corbin Smith, all these people. So I find it hard to believe that this girl who would have had relationships, friendships with those core set of guys, wouldn't be talking to them about the murders. Like, what the heck? What is going on? Okay. Next. Okay, the billboards. Let's take a look at these pics. I want to show you guys some pics. And for the record, when I'm talking about like the feds, if you're like a CI or you're like someone that's talking to them, they have these little offices all throughout the states. So like someone like an Ed Jacobson, who like when I think of like feds, I don't think of Ed Jacobson, okay? But he was at the Coeur d'Alene and did all the federal task force. So he is officially, yeah, I'm FBI, but he's like a local dude. That's the type of person that I'm talking about who Dylan Mortensen was alleged to be talking to in Boise. So it's not like these regional or like type of dudes. That's not what I'm talking about. So I want to make sure that was clear. Yeah, satellite offices, exactly. So here I'm going to pull up my emails. And what I want to first start with is this is who I'm going through for to try to get in touch with people in Moscow. The Encompass Media Outdoor. Okay. So, and what they do is they have these little digital, you call them billboards, you call them rolling screens, but they are, they're right along the highway. They're right over there by the campus. And they, hold on one second. Let me see. Okay. These other ones are going to pop up here in 1 second. Hold on. Do you guys hear those fireworks? This is just me. My neighbor's at it again. Okay. Here we go. These are like the screens. So here you can see Moscow in the back, but this is their like, let's see how you see where the Sherwin-Williams sign is over here to the right. Yes, we do custom. So that's when it says, yes, we do custom. That's what this digital sign is. And so like right there, it says like, it has like the Moscow logo. They have these all over. See this one right here? They have these all over. And I was like, this is exactly what I want, you know, digital billboard. Using boom mounted cams on both sides of our digital billboards. So hold on. This is what we're talking about. Digital billboard specifications, file formats. You have to give it to them like this. Okay. So all of you guys out there, I want you guys to help me come up with the most banging motherfucking sign. Okay. And I'm going to rotate this shit. Like, I'm going to see if I'm able to do like, you know, every like 20 seconds, like a new one, you know, and if I can give like 4 different ones, right? And it's like, this is who our flavor of the month is or the week is that we want to talk to. And so we're getting the word out. I'm going to put my number on there, you know, call for a good time, call for that, you know, digital interview. But we found, this is what I was looking for. We found it and they found me. They came to me and were like, I think we can help you with your needs. We want to help and we are local. And I'm like, this is fucking sick. So you know who you are. I love you. I appreciate you. And we're gonna get Molly. Molly, you and Danger Girl. So but this is the criteria how we have to do it all. Um we want to make it banging, keep it simple. The first step to creating effective messages with your electronic sign is to keep the wording short. Yes. And second, yes, we got you. Avoid using complete sentences. Avoid using complete sentences like, yeah, Molly, you and Danger Girl. Don't use 8 words when 4 will do. Exactly. You and Danger Girl. So yeah, wanted. Molly McMichael's, YouTube interview. Call blank and blank, collect $2,000. You guys see what I put it out there on my channel. I just want like her picture, maybe like DoorDasher of the year. Collect your reward. Here's $2,000. We want to interview you. But come on, we'll have a contest with it. I'm even thinking of putting a finder's fee. If you get Molly to do it, I'm going to give you $500, because let's not kid ourselves. But I want Bill Thompson to drive past it every day. Ashley Jennings be like, oh my God, what the fuck is this? Yeah. Or I mean, we can start exposing the corruption this way. We can start putting up these documents that we get and say we got answers. So again, keep it simple. Each message should present a single idea. Exactly. We want Molly. Wanted. This reads faster than trying to fit multiple offers on a message. Exactly. Boom. Molly. Keep it big. Large text allows motorists to see your message from a greater distance and increases impressions. If your text is too small, your audience won't have sufficient time to read and comprehend the message before driving by. Keep it clean, baby. Avoid using thin fonts as well as most script fonts. Thin character strokes, baby. Yeah. Keep it colorful. Make it a fucking rainbow. So, again, welcome to Encompass Media Outdoor. This is what we're looking at. This is the sign, and it says the 2 sides of the digital billboard are mounted on an angle to maximize sight lines for traffic. I love it. Perfect. Here we go. So when we say that we're looking into something, we're truly looking into something. And did you guys know that Moscow ranked the 55th best place to live in the United States? Cost of living, it's the most affordable. There's a good population. Well, this is going to be seen by everybody in Moscow. We might have to do one in Pullman. I wonder if they do one in Pullman. Oh, Moscow ranked number 1 best place to raise a family? Get out of here. What is it just in like this in Idaho? This has to be in Idaho. Come on now. Let's not kid ourselves. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Anyways, make it pop. Make it pop. See, yes, we do custom. That's like a sign. This one's like call for something. I'm gonna put my number. Molly, come collect your 2 G's. You are the DoorDasher of the year. Molly, we want to buy you an apartment. Or Molly, we want to pay your rent. We'll pay your rent if you were in the Idaho4 if you were interviewed by the police and you interview with Truth and Transparency, we will pay your rent for 3 months. So anyways. Now, next topic. All right. Hell of a dasher tip. Molly, I forgot to tip you. Misconnections. How about that? A misconnection, Molly. Okay. Misconnections. Next. Okay. All right. So remember I told you guys the next thing we're going to be talking about is powder. Okay. And how we're doing this is we're going to. Okay. So before the Idaho4 tragedy, on 10/30/2022, okay, this is a picture of not Adderall, and it came straight out of Pullman and Moscow. I want you to see this was no longer around after the month of, like, basically in January, it just bye-bye. Okay. And this is actually not Adderall. Okay. But look at this blue. Nope, those are fatty. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. But hang on, hang tight. Okay, so hang tight. Hang tight. So this was the product being passed around in Pullman and Moscow. And hang on. Okay. Okay. All right. This is, again, in this 11/12/2022. Okay, see these? Purple. So the blue went away, but I'm trying to show you guys that these are the dates of 12/18. All right. Does anybody know what those are right there to the right? The white? You guys know what that is? Let me just tell you a little story. Let me tell you a little ditty. Yes. Okay, so okay. I got a lot more where this came from, but we're going to talk about this because it's really important. Okay. I'll tell you guys a story now. Zanny bars, yes. There you go. Zanny bars. Yeah. I was like, okay, I got to get learning my drugs on. All right. So, gonna talk a little bit more about something really quick. And then we're going to come back to some pictures. Some Mo pictures. Okay. Now, okay, there's a batch of 92 pics that I have from October of 2022 to March of 2023. Just for reference sake. Now, I want to, okay. Okay. So, after the murders, we know this. This is like another person that's just confirming already what Dave told me, which was there was feds swarming all over the place, right? As much as they were acting like, hey, we don't care about the drugs, we don't care about anything like this, right? Okay, well then why did they start raiding people in the, summer of 2023? Now, Matt had a dog. Whether it was their family dog, they had a dog. And the dog that they had, this is where I need Bella because she's a dog person. It's a Belgian. What are those dogs? You guys know what I'm talking about. It's got a lot of energy. It's a big dog. God. Oh, where's my dog people in here? Yeah. Yes. Yes. There we go. And that's what Matt, and either it was his dog, his brother dog, the family dog. And because I'm like, okay, well, I have to make sure that everything's, if I'm vetting something, without even asking. So Matt would probably know what his dog's name is, and so, or the family name. And so Sadie, but how about this? The dog was not ever roaming around when like people would be over, because their dog, she had bitten and sent people to the ER in the past. Okay. So I'm like, whoa. Okay. I was like, whoa. Now, my source tells me that, and this is like mirroring what Dave would talk about. Hey, everything went down on Snapchat. Everything was always Snapchats. I remember Dave is just the name I use. That's, if you guys want to go check out that interview, it's still available on my channel. We just call him Dave. Obviously, his name isn't Dave, but you guys know him as Dave. So this person and Matt exchanged Snapchats. And they would pregame, hang out before if they went to like the bars or whatever. They had a mutual friend. So, and actually it was my source's best friend, but so this is how they met Matt and exchanged, that's what you did back then. What's your snap? So you exchange snaps. And so Matt, he would bring Coke to the party. And so there were lines of Coke being done. and before going and getting into bags of Fetty on the countertop. And then they would have Xanax bars. They would talk prices and ended up trading, Xanax bars for half a gram of Coke. And they both would exchange their stories about hey, if you need the hookup on this, like I got the hookup here with this, with like if it was, I got the plug for downers, and he had the hookup with this, aka Matt explained that he can get way more of this fish scale Coke he brought. A lot of these people they don't prefer to drink, though they won't drink that much without an upper. Because if you're already doing Fetty at the time, people didn't like to mix that with drinking. So, and I'm like, when I heard that the mutual friend, we're talking like army buddies. So again, I didn't lead any of this conversation. I was like, I just have to vet all the information. But I said, I need to see the pictures. I need to see things so that I can vet what you're saying. And so that's what I've been doing. And and then sure as shit, I get my pictures and I'm sharing them with you guys, some of them right now, in which I have 92 pics total. And that's from October of 2022 to March of 2023. Hands down, I said, would any of the frat people be into like using and trying to get their hands on drugs? He said, abso-fucking-lutely. Yes. They mostly did Coke though. Because it was big on allowing you to drink as much as you want as long as you keep doing lines. It also eliminates obviously the hangover, so they were big on that. Again, he wanted to preface this. If Matt is regularly having large quantities of Coke on him, that would be a hookup. If people knew that, they would definitely be going to somebody when he was explaining, like, you're talking about someone that is talking about large quantities. This isn't somebody that's just like, so people would be like wanting to get stuff off of it. And I was like, really? It's like, interesting. Let's see. He says, I remember I was with Matt at parties where he sold $5 bumps or lines depending on how close he was to you. It was $50 a half gram, $75, $85, and $100 grams depending on the quality. Again. And I said, Matt. Molly, you have the worst luck in Moscow. Molly. Okay, Molly. So basically, Matt had the hookup with Coke, and this had got him the hookup with like the Xanny, whatever you call them. Those Xanax, whatever they're. You guys know I don't do drugs. But when I saw him use the terminology, I told him I got plugs for any downer he wants, and we exchanged our snaps. Matt explained he can get way more of this fish scale Coke he brought. And it's about the quality when it breaks. And so it's like, yeah, there you go. Yeah. And I'm going to show you guys those pictures again. But this is what the big thing was, is that This person reached out because of the color of the Adderall, and because this person has personal knowledge that the cops would label stuff and some stuff would not get tested, but it would get labeled incorrectly on purpose, because we don't want the parents and alumni and Moscow to be knowing that there's, this hard use of drugs going on. Now think about this. In 2021, they went and got that drug dog. Okay. And so he's like, something that I thought was interesting is that the blue, you could not get the blue fatty anywhere anymore. Like, it was like just a month or two after the murders, that shit was gone. It was all back to just white, maybe some purple. And he thought that was interesting because it was such a good product and everybody wanted it, that why is that going bye-bye? And I was like, I get what you're saying. And so it'd be like, yeah. Half is purple there, half is blue. That's your difference between whites, and that's that blue. And he's like, that's not Adderall, right? Obviously. And so those little baggies, when you're talking about that blue, is just curious that it's like, what the fuck? And he was just basically saying that, where did that go? It just basically disappeared. So, but the name, and so I encourage you guys to vet it too. Go and find out if Matt's dog, the family dog, is Sadie. Okay. And let's listen to, I want to listen to this interview again with you guys.
Yes, so it's not a lot, but I woke up a couple times Saturday night. Okay. Roommates coming in and different things, and around 4, I think when I looked at the clock, it was maybe around 4:17.
Okay, right there. 4:17. Remember, you guys, I lost my shit over this. I said, what in the hell? I was like, this guy's inserting himself, right? He comes out and he wants to say 4:17. Really? 4:17? Did he see everybody had seen those cameras. Just saying, like, I don't know how they were getting passed around or whatever. But 4:17. 4:17 doesn't say 4:15, 4:30. At 4:17. 4:17. That is always stuck with me because I think that's crazy.
I woke up and I didn't hear. It takes a lot for me to wake up. Yeah. So that's why I was kind of surprised I woke up, and I didn't hear anything at first, but after maybe 5 minutes, that's my best estimate. I was pretty in and out. I started hearing dog barking. Sounds like it was coming from that direction from the house. So I believed it was their dog. Okay. And I was going in and out again. I think for maybe another hour, I kept hearing the dog barking outside. Thought it was very peculiar just because I've lived here since January, and I've never heard that dog outside barking in the middle of the night. And that's all I really have.
Okay. And so it was about 4.
So I thought this was interesting. Now with what we know, we need to get somebody on the record immediately, because I believe that this house would be either CI's or they're being watched. Matt Moye's house, just for the record. That's what I believe. Now, it's like, hey, we want somebody to come out and claim that this dog is is it not their dog? Is it where I used to live back in the day? You can tell what dog, like if there's multiple people's dogs that are living around you, I'm not going to think, Joe's dog is barking but it's really Kate's dog. Like I'm going to be able to tell the difference because I'm at my house and I'm hearing them and I know where the sound is actually coming from. But I want to know if she asks, well, how do you know it was their dog versus like another dog? Like, do you always hear their dog bark? Does their dog ever bark?
17.
But all he wants to do is tell her that he heard a dog barking. That's it. And he wants to say 417.
That's all I really have.
Okay, and so it was about 4:17.
Yes.
When you looked at the clock.
Yes.
After you were woken up by the sound of the dog.
Yes.
Okay, and then did you look outside at all?
No. I have my room is downstairs, like the closest, like I can look out to the house from my window down there. But I have blinds that cover it up, and I'm a very deep sleeper, so I was just kind of going in and out, just kind of falling back to sleep, waking up. I didn't really think too much of it because there's a lot of noise that happens, especially with these streets with the outhouses.
Yeah.
So I didn't really think too much of it at first. So I just kind of went back to sleep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the dog was barking for how long, do you think?
I think the last time I woke up was around 5, and I believe the dog was still barking at that point.
Okay, and it sounded like it was outside.
Yes. Yes. It was
in that direction.
Yeah.
And when you did wake up, did you notice any lights on, motion lights, anything like that? Did you hear any?
No.
Hear any rustling or hear anything else?
I didn't hear any rustling. I probably, because we have a night light that turns on, and that little window around the corner is the window for my room. I probably would have seen that if it had turned on, but it didn't.
Okay.
Other than that, my room's very dark, so if there was light or
if someone trips that, you would have seen anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so you see how they're just accepting everything that everyone's saying, just did you test that ever?
What's your date of birth? Anything else? Were any of your other roommates home that heard anything, or?
They were all home.
They were all home. This is why Ann Taylor put these people on her witness list. They were all home.
But they didn't hear anything, I think my roommate heard this say. He lives in the...
My roommate, Matt. He didn't say Tyler. He's like, and then it...
Other thing, I think my roommate heard this say. He lives in the other room downstairs. I think he woke up for a second from the barking, but he went back to bed as well.
Okay. Is he here now?
Yes.
Can I talk to him real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so and now we go straight into Matt.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Do you want to stand inside so you don't get too cold? Okay. Okay. Yeah. I want you to face it up there. Yeah. Okay, so is that your full name?
Yes.
And what's your date of birth?
2000.
How about a good phone number for you? Okay. And he mentioned that you might have heard something?
So I was gone, I think, when all of these events transpired.
Right there. I was gone, I think, when all of these events... How do you know? Do you understand that? That's huge. That's a big red flag for anybody because you have no idea when this happened. Okay? Unless you involved. Okay, what do you... It's kind of like the Molly thing for me. Molly saying about her being, this would happen to me. I would be there when this would happen. It's what? We just asked you about delivering food. You know what I mean? What? Who told you that this happened? You know what I'm saying?
Yesterday, I did this thing called extended training. I think like when all of these events transpired, yesterday,
All of these events. These events. What do you mean these events?
did this thing called extended training day. It's like this thing we do in ROTC, but basically like I was up at 2:30 in the morning and then I was out the door at like 3, and I was doing stuff with them until like 6. So I was gone pretty much the whole day yesterday. But I heard about
2:30 p.m. or a.m.
2:30 a.m. was when that was when I woke up. I left the house at 3 a.m. and then and then I was.
Meanwhile, your roommate just said that you were home.
At extended training day until like 6 because we went to Buffalo Wild Wings after, and then
Where was the training?
so it was in a lot of different places. We started at Guywick's Field, which is here on campus, and then we went all the way to Pullman. We went to like it's called Terraview. It's like that first stoplight before you get to Pullman.
Okay.
So we rucked all the way over there, and then we rucked all the way back.
How many other people were you with?
There's probably like 20 people total.
Okay.
10 actually doing the event, and then another 10 like facilitating it.
And was it with people that you're normally with?
Yes, people in ROTC.
Okay. Was there anyone that
She never followed up with any of this.
maybe wasn't present that normally is with you guys there?
Not that I can think of. No.
Okay. And so you left at 3 in the morning
Mm.
and drove there?
Yes, I drove to the Buffalo Wild Wings. That was the meetup point, like the parking lot.
Okay. What time do you think you got to Buffalo Wild Wings?
It would have been shortly after 4 because that's when the event ended at the pool. Then we were there for like a little less than 2 hours. I left around like 6:15, something like that.
In the morning?
No, this was at night. So this event was like pretty long. It was like a 12-hour training event, and then we went to Buffalo Wild Wings after. So I like that was the meetup point. So we parked there at 3 in the morning.
Okay.
Walked over to Guywick's Field, did the whole event, like did everything. And then after the event was over, we finished at the UI pool. And then that's when we went to Buffalo Wild Wings, got some food to like celebrate, and then got back in my car and headed back here.
Okay.
Got here about 6:30, something like that.
Okay, so when you left at 3, remember seeing anybody out and about or anything
No,
out of the ordinary?
I wish I had. That's the thing is like when I had heard that it happened so early, I kind of wish I was trying to like retrace my memories, see if I remember anything, but I really don't. I was just like really in a rush to kind of get out the door.
And when you were awake at 2:30 or 3, did you hear that dog barking at all? Or?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure I would have heard it if there was a dog barking, but again, like I was just kind of in a rush.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
And any of your other roommates that were home that might have heard that?
And I think said he heard it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was the only one.
Simon. He said Simon.
Okay. I don't know. That's my brother who just walked in, but
okay.
I doubt he heard it. Hey, you mind if I?
Yeah, you could have. Yeah.
Hey. Yeah. Did you hear a dog barking at some point? Would have been the morning. Okay. Because he said he heard it, but I didn't hear anything. What time did you hear it?
I heard it like I was at the barking around 17.
Okay, sounds like a little one. Yeah.
Hi. I'm Danny.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I didn't hear dog barking.
Hi, I'm Danny. No, hi, I'm Officer hi, I'm Officer Vargas. You get what I'm saying? Like, hi, I'm Danny. That's just bizarre.
Point. I had gone out to the bars at night, and we got home around 2:30 in the morning. And my sister was in the same sorority as Maddie, and saw Maddie out at the club. Yeah, no, it wasn't John's. I'm pretty sure it was the club for sure.
Oh, Corner Club.
The Corner Club.
Okay.
So, and we were at the Corner Club like right before they closed.
Uh-huh.
So she was out like really late, and and then I just laid in the living room for a long time, for like probably till like 3 in the morning. And I didn't hear any dogs, but I sleep with earplugs in, so that's why I wouldn't have heard anything. But their rooms are more like outside, so that's why it sounds like. Did you hear it or no?
No, yeah, I was out the door.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you left when I was still down there. So.
And what's your? What's your date of birth?
97.
And how about a good phone number for you? And what's your sister's name? How about a good phone number for her?
Hi.
And so she's in with some of
Maddie. It sounds like Maddie.
She's an ex-member.
Was an ex-member, but they were still loosely connected. And then Shayna, I can't remember. Zana was in Yeah, there is.
And who out last night?
Saw Maddie out. Maddie Mogan.
Logan?
Mogan, yep. Because Madison Mogan is my sister's ex's ex. Does that make sense? My sister's ex, Maddie, is his ex.
Okay.
There's a lot of Maddies here.
Yeah, there's a lot of Maddies.
A lot of Maddies.
So Maddie dated Jake Schreiger.
Slow chart.
Remember, now we just found out recently that Ann Taylor was very interested in what we've never heard Jake Schreiger's interviews ever, but she had them transcribed and she was very interested in them. And I was already able to link up Jake Schreiger to people from the CDA area that were, weed dealers. I mean, but I don't, if somebody buys marijuana, I'm sorry. I don't think that's, I don't care, it would be other stuff because if that could take you down that's a completely different path to me.
Exactly. Yeah, I need to draw it for you. But my sister and her, they used to have a little bit of tension, but then they were good. And so that's why my sister was like, oh, I saw Maddie at the bar. I should have said hi to her, but I didn't. And then yeah, the next day, my sister was like, oh, I saw Maddie at the bar.
Okay, you hear that dog that just barked? That's not the dog I'm talking about. Also, remember, my source is saying that their dog is not that one. It's a bigger dog. It can't be around people, or it's normally not around people. It's usually not out roaming because in the past the dog has bit and sent people to the ER.
I should have said hi to her, but I didn't. And then yeah, the next day we found out that this was happening. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you guys can think of?
No? I don't think so.
Okay. Cool. So you weren't even here. Sounds like you heard the dog barking.
Yep.
All right, cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
If you have any other questions, I'll reach out to you guys.
Okay, cool.
Do you mind if I ask a question? We're safe here? Because I know it said there's no threat, but the suspect is still at large. We don't know.
That's been our biggest concern. It's the fence line is shared with us, and two of the girls being the same story as my sister who lives here. We were kind of just anything we can. What's the threat level at the time?
Yeah, I mean, I think the suspect is still unknown.
Okay, did you guys hear that? My sister, who has the same name, remember, we thought about that for a while, and it was because it was a targeted attack they're talking about, and they're like, my sister has the same name as Maddie, and she lives here. These guys are not in frats. And my source said that Matt never told him that he was in a frat, and he thinks that he would have known that. And because I was like, do you think that he could have kept that from you? He's like, no. But I definitely he sold bumps for $5
at this time, and so we're still trying to determine who it could be. So definitely still just be
cautious,
diligent. If you see anything that seems weird or strikes you as odd, definitely call us and let us know.
Okay.
So,
well,
yeah. Okay. Cool. Well,
thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to listen to that. Okay, now I want to pull up when Roger Lanier took his ass to, on the same day, they went to the corner club on 11/15. I want to point out something. Okay. So this is a report that Roger Lanier wrote up. And they go, this is the same day as that they talked. So, but this is in the morning. But on November 15th, Detective Mowry and him go to the corner club. Now I want you to look at this right here. They talk about Jack D. They talk about the kid that was wearing the weird sweater, the sign guy. Now, a third subject who was seen in the grub truck video was also observed in the corner club, but we were not able to identify him. He is a stocky build white male with brown hair and facial hair wearing a brownish sweater. I did not observe any interaction between him and Kaylee or Maddie. Just making sure. Is this Joe Vito? Is that him? Has this person ever been? Anybody? Also, we're gonna keep this in the background. Okay. Now remember that Matt Moye and them, they were the ones that called on a noise complaint. They were one of the noise complaints. And notice how the dad not come up not once in here in this little interview? Because remember when they were doing the neighborhood canvassing and they were asking like if anybody had beef with them with like the noise or anything like that. Remember that? In the neighborhood canvassing? And here at this place, and they never go back and they never, I mean, did the feds end up talking to these people then again and their interview somewhere else? But just fucking wild. Okay. I want to go back to show you guys that some of these other pictures. Maybe this isn't the one that I wanted. Hold on. Oh, okay. Let's see. Okay, so it appears sometime between 12:25 on Christmas to 12:28 is the last time I was able to find blue Fetty to show. The amount slowly fades smaller and smaller from the point on, and purple gets bigger. On January 5th, 2023, those pictures of blue rocks alone on scale show 0.56. If you zoom in on the 12:28 ones on as compared to this, it has decreased. So I did get the last bag of blue Fetty between 12:25 and 12:28. Dude, let me just tell you something, you guys. I was very adamant on how I wanted to vet this shit. And I said, I want metadata. I want everything. Okay. So hold on now. Let me get back to this. I want to see that one scale. Okay. By 1/12/2023, blue continues down to just a few rocks. I was trying to save it at the time as long as possible, so I mostly used purple during this time. By 1/19/2023, it's down to one rock, 0.32 of a gram. I know this because in the pic it shows the purple rock alone on the scale weighing 0.48. Then another pick same day with the blue rock on the scale. Normally I did 0.03 lines during the day and a 0.04 at night. Every once in a great while, 0.05 line at night. By 1/21/2023, blue is down to 0.18. I know this because the scale picks on it because I was so fucking adamant. Oh my God. By 2/4/2023, you can see I'm trying to keep this last blue rock as long as possible for a rainy day. And because I really like the color. He's joking. Sometime between 2/4/2023 and 2/23/2023, I grabbed the last of the purple. The 2/23/2023, the rock is still identical to what it was on 2/4 when zoomed in and compared its exact same rough triangular shape and size to when it was on the scale last this weighed, blah, blah. I have done this many times where if it's good shit or it looks really good or really cool, I'll save the last point for rainy day, blah, blah. Also important. This is when the white powder begins to show up and the purple then fades and then it's all white. So I then started cross-referencing drug busts. Okay. And because that's what I did in the Brian Drake case. So that's what I'm looking into now. Is paying attention to everything that occurred with the AGs, any of the task force. And I think I'm going to do a FOIA request on those to see what was seized from October until March. So but I was interested in the baggies, so I want to go back and check what was in Xana's room. Does anybody have that picture available, like lickety split quick? If so, you can like email it to me relatively quick here. Otherwise, I can pull up all the docs, but but him being an ex-addict, he thought it was really interesting because he never thought about it before. His girlfriend got him to even know about my channel. Hey, you need to look at this. Hey, you need to see this. And it's been because of the recent stuff I've been talking about, all this federal grant money and that the party patrols and what we've been doing recently to pull back the layers of what the hell was going on and what those undercovers were doing there that night. And now we can prove that somebody deleted, and I think it was by mistake that they actually deleted Nate Rosendahl, or they could have potentially did it on purpose, but I think that was a mistake, but the other people were supposed to be deleted out. Anyways, but Rosendahl wouldn't have gotten paid then because obviously the only check that was cut was that one that Jacob got. And he's adamant. He's adamant that saying that 1,000% there are CIs and 1,000% they are people that are going undercover and they're using younger people though that would be cops, not, and that if they're, you know, when they're writing like this whole like disbanding like a party with underage or whatever. And remember I was like, there was 4 of those that night, but we never hear anything about that. Because I want to be clear, writing out those citations in the banned field, it has nothing to do with that they are saying that they broke up 4 underage like drinking parties. That has nothing to do with their like minor in consumption or minor in possession tickets. That's completely different. What's up, my man? Diego, what's good? What's good? So we're in the process of, I want to see Jacob Tisdall's body cam from start to finish, but I'm going to tell you how we're going to do it. So today I worked on creating, let me see here. We're going to go about it this way in this request. Okay. We're going for a, so we're doing, it's November 12 at, oh, okay. We're going to get a complete CAD log for a specific 30, it's 24 hours plus an additional 12. So we're doing all incident lists for that period. We're doing unit and vehicle histories for all vehicle units marked and unmarked during the 24-hour period. The officer login, log off data specific to the MDC and the MDT, which is the mobile data computer. It does a sign in and sign off timestamps for all units, cruisers, marked and unmarked for the 24-hour period. Plus I did an additional 12 because I'm doing a CAD system audit. I've never done this before. This will be my first time to do something like this. We're doing a CAD system audit. In this CAD system audit logs, this is the back-end electronic audit trails, metadata logs, change histories, or modification logs showing any manual edits, deletions, or status overrides made to the CAD entries or unit timestamps during this time frame, including the user ID of the person making the edits. We're going for AVL and GPS, which is automated vehicle location data, or GPS tracking logs for all units, cruisers, because I personally believe that, remember last night when we were going back down memory lane and I showed you guys regular cruisers? Now that I believe that people's names were deleted off of that list, I believe that they wouldn't have been in, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I don't believe that all of them were in unmarked cars. I'm guessing that there had to be at least one cruiser that would have been a regular. So we need all cruisers for every cruiser that they have. We need this log. Because I called up a friend of mine and asked about what type of trouble could you get in, or why would you ever even want to do this? I didn't explain that this had anything to do with that. I said, I want to ask you something. And so I got a couple clarifications. What the back end system will do is if you are logged in to work a regular shift, you can't be doing like, and it sees that you're doing like a regular, like whatever the fuck you're normally supposed to be doing. You're not going to be able to go into the, when you're talking over the radio and saying that you're doing something, it is then going to flag you to show that you're doing a duty that you're not supposed to be doing because you're working your regular shift, basically. And it would like flag you to be audited because something isn't compartmentalizing with the computer. Okay. And so what you cannot do is if you are on the schedule and you are working your regular shift, you are not allowed to collect your hourly from Moscow and then additionally say, okay, here I was also from 9 to fucking 5 working this PFS grant, blah, 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 for overtime. So, but what you could do is you're allowed to work 16 hours out of 24 hours in a row, 16 hours. So you could work and do, let's say, a 10-hour shift. That's your normal shift. And then when you're done with that and it clocks out, then when you're clocking back in and it's in that block, it's then kicking into whatever it is that you're doing for this grant. But the system would flag you if you worked more than 16 hours in a row, or more than 16 hours out of a 24-hour period. And then I said, well, what type of trouble could you get into? Because what would benefit somebody to delete somebody? So like, let's say that, like how would you go about getting paid if you're not going to be able to get the money from, so let's say that I'm not working and I'm not working for the city because they're not paying me out of that money. But because I'm not on the schedule and I'm going to go work this plain clothes to do drug detail, whatever, party patrol, blah, blah. Why would I ever, or anybody ever think that they need to not like delete that? Like, why would somebody feel the need like to delete that? Like, what could be a potential, holy shit, we can't. And they were like, it doesn't make sense. You wouldn't. If you're not on your shift, you didn't work more than 16 hours, right? Like, no. Why would somebody ever want to erase that you worked hours that isn't even going to come from your funds? Like, I'm like, well, they kind of do because you get reimbursed. Like, so maybe like they pay because it's like a reimbursement thing. But they're like, no, because that stays out. I mean, no. So I was like, well, why would you do that then? And they're like, well, it doesn't seem like it would be like fraud usually comes in the form of that I'm collecting the grant money and I'm collecting my pay at the same time during the same hours. Like, usually you don't. Like, that's how you see it. And I was like, yeah, exactly. So why would anybody delete? Because we just don't want to pay these 4 or 5 people. Like, and they're like, you would never do that. And then they said, well, there would be one reason and one reason only. If you're a superior and you're trying to like screw somebody because you have a personal vendetta against somebody, like you would potentially not log their shit and then screw them out of that money. And then you could be potentially giving it to yourself. But that would be, I mean, who that person's going to know that they didn't get their money. And I'm like, yeah, so I don't think it's that, right? She's like, you would never do it. You would never do it. There is just no reason to do it. I said, well, what does the schedule look like if I'm picking up something that's not on my, like, does the city still count my time on payroll and mark it down? Like, if I was doing a different detail, would it still show? And she said, oh, absolutely. And so I said, okay, let me get this straight. So I said that then they would have gotten paid. Meaning like a Nate Rosendahl. Just because it's not on the log that was sent to the federal people, right? The grant people. She's like, yeah, because that's only just reimbursing you. So, and I was like, okay, so yeah. So hear me out. I was like, yeah, exactly. So if that person's still going to get paid because it's just coming out of like the regular city money for just a time being, and then it gets replenished from the grant. So obviously like that happens after the fact. So why wouldn't you want your own city to be reimbursed? And she's like, you would never do that. Why would you cost your city money? And why wouldn't you be using a grant? I said, exactly. She said, it doesn't make any sense. And that's where we're at right now. Like, none of this makes any sense. Like, so basically she said, there has to be a huge reason why. Like, I said, what about 4 fucking murders? Then I just come with it. I was like, what if you're doing something on this shift that was because of something that an operation that you were doing? She's like, yeah, oh God, okay. But I'm like, but there'd be a paper trail of that, I still think. Because that's the big part of me asking, would you still be on the one schedule? Would you be on both of the schedules? Like, how does that work? And she's like, yes, because go look at the WS. Because then when I showed her the WSU pay, she's like, yeah, do you see how it shows a differential and it's showing that you're getting paid overtime and blah, blah. That's how it's all breaking it all off, like for the system to know. I was like, okay, what if I can prove that logs were falsified? How bad is that? She's like, you get fired. You get put on the Brady list. She's like, then your credibility shot. You cannot, and I'm like, yeah, exactly. So even if you're lied and it wasn't like you're trying to launder money or you're not trying to, she's like, this is fraud. She's like, what you're saying is fraud. It sounds like you're frauding your fucking, the taxpayers of Moscow because they're paying and not getting reimbursed. I mean, it's just fraud. Oh, so they made the city pay the overtime. Yeah, because they never got reimbursed. Okay. And this is where the issue is she's like, it doesn't make any sense. And I was like, unless you don't want to document, because then I explained it. What if you didn't want to document what you found or what you did or what, like, she's like, but that's the whole purpose of the grant. The grant is the whole purpose for whatever you're preventing or whatever you're trying to crack down on. She's like, you're supposed to expect to see, the fucking seizures of like whatever, or this prevention thing should be working. Okay. Like whatever it is that you're doing, it should be showing that it's successful, right? Or that it has some type of an impact. I said, yeah, but a four-person murder impact isn't probably what you would want, right? And so I said, if somebody sent a form and only claimed that one person worked 8 hours, but meanwhile a bunch of other people worked, but it didn't get sent in that way. She's like, do you think that it was ever sent in that way? I was like, I think that it attempted to be put in that way, but then they held off on submitting it when they were supposed to. And they held off as long as they could. And then they finally like submitted it. And when they submitted it, they took off the names. And she's like, yeah, that's fraud. She said, they're fucked. She's like, you can prove that? I said, yeah, I think I can. She said, yeah, that's like, they're fucked. They would lose their job. They're on the Brady list. She's like, that's criminal. She's like, they could be charged criminally. She doesn't understand why they would ever do that though. That's what's making it more compelling for us, because you would never, she's like, it doesn't make any sense. I was like, well, what if 4 people died? She's like, 4 people died because of what though? I thought it was some person that wanted to become a serial killer. Like he was just there. I was like, yeah, that's what I thought too. I was like, this is what I think. I think that they were clearly watching, because that's the whole point of this operation, is to watch certain houses, watch certain people, watch certain cars. They don't want to make it seem like there's a drug problem. They don't want to make it seem like this is an unsafe situation. They don't want to make it seem like the Greek family lifestyle is just like whatever. They have to make it all kosher. And so they also don't want to get sued. They're also understaffed. And I was like, what it looks like is that potentially people were killed because of whatever was going on. It doesn't make sense. She's like, you're damn right it doesn't make sense. She's like, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. She's like, people would just work their shift, you know, whatever you did. I was like, what if it involves a dog being out there and there's not supposed to be a dog out there? She's like, you're not making any sense because I don't understand the case. And I was just like, well, okay. She's like, if you're using federal funds and you have it like, and I was like, well, that's the thing is, what if you're using federal funds for this overtime shift stuff, but then you realize that people were double dipping? And she's like, well, see, there you have a problem right there. So you think that people were double dipping? And I'm like, well, now it could be potential. And then they were like, here, we can't, don't put our hours in because if we get audited, then yeah, we're double dipping. But she's like, but that should send flags automatically. Those people in Moscow would have known that are doing payroll. Like they would have saw like, hey, you can't be signing up for these shifts because you're working. So you can only sign up for shifts when you're not working. That's the whole point of anything that you do federal grant wise, anything that's a grant given to you is all supplemental income. And I was like, yes, exactly. She's like, yeah, I mean, these supervisors would never be allowing these people to sign up for stuff that was on their regular shifts. I mean, that's a big fucking huge no-no. And I was like, yeah, see, that's what I think's happening. And potentially 4 kids got killed because of whatever the fuck they were doing. And I was like, so basically, Rosie would not have known ever that he was not on that sheet because he's getting his money regardless. And then the city is just getting reimbursed. Okay. And so that's why you have to keep your checks and balances. And I was like, yeah, there was like, and that's just, that wasn't happening. Like they're not turning stuff in. They're not keeping good logs. It's a fucking mess. And she's like, yeah, it sounds like it. And she's like, and also I can't believe that they kept on upping this grant and they're not using the money and that they keep on giving them like almost $10,000, but yet they're never coming close to it. And I was like, and none of their numbers line up. She's like, you could have them audited like that. She's like, if you took this to the fucking, take it to the people. So I'm taking it. I'm calling Jessie up. This is what we're doing. We're calling Jessie up, and I'm just going to let her know that I want to ask her. I was like, hey, I want you to take a look at something here. I noticed all your guys' emails. I went through this, and I noticed that there's a problem on 11/12/2022. There was more than one person working. It's in police reports. That there was multiple people, like a Nate Rosendahl was working with Jacob Tisdall, this plainclothes operation. And I noticed that they only put in for you guys 8 hours for Jacob Tisdall, but he's saying that he didn't work 8 hours. He's saying he only worked till 3:52. But also they're only supposed to be signing up for 4-hour slots. So how did this all happen? And this was the night that the kids were murdered, and they were all doing this right outside the house of where the kids were murdered. And why would these names be deleted? Like, and I want to show the log, and I want to ask them, are they able to, if this was like, do you have to go online and like enter in inside? Can we go through the back end some way and to see? Clearly stuff was written in and then that got deleted. Like, I mean, it's like they took out the function because they were deleting these rows, the material out of it, which took out the whatever, like the, equation would be. And she said, what you just described to me that falls under our False Claims Act. I said, continue. I said, continue on that. She's like, have you looked it up? I was like, yeah, I was looking stuff up. So I was just having a conversation, and she's like, well, you're on the right track, but people are going to hate you. I said, fuck it. I'm putting billboards out there. Woo! So if we type in the False Claims Act, many of the fraud sections cases are suited filed under the False Claims Act, a federal statute originally enacted in, a long time ago. The FCA provides that any person who knowingly submits or causes to submit false claims to the government is liable for 3 times the government's damages plus a penalty that is, FCA liability can arise in other situations, such as when someone knowingly uses a false record material to a false claim or improperly avoids an obligation to pay the government. Conspiring to commit any of these acts also is a violation. The Department of Justice obtained more than $2.9 billion in settlements and judgments from civil cases involving fraud and false claims against the government in the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2024. Damn, makes no sense. Hold on one second. I want to do some math. 49.80 times 8 equals. Oh, I know why. Then times 0.24 equals 95 plus. Okay, I figured out the other thing that they did. 95 plus. Oh, shit. Okay, the reason that the amount was, I want to show you guys this. When you guys are like, they can't add, they can. You get money because you get benefits. So the reason that, for example, of this, okay. So on the night of the murders, 11/12/2022, Jacob Tisdall, there should still, it's like, see how we've already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. They were deleted because otherwise it goes, the zero should go all the way up, and the formulas, it's like somebody went in and somebody did it really quick. Somebody went in really quick and took out the names, took out all the stuff, wiped out all this shit. And then when they were clicking 0, then this just became, which doesn't make any sense, but it kind of does, because I think that they were just being lazy about it. I don't know. It just truly doesn't make any sense. I don't know if they were getting there. But I can tell you that they did not turn this in on time. They were afraid to turn this in on time. So we know for a fact that Nate Rosendahl's name should be here. And you're only supposed to be working, it was 4 hours time slots. They've never worked until 5 o'clock in the morning. In fact, Jacob Tisdall writes a report and says that he worked till 3:52. And let me me pull that one up. Okay. Print that. I began an overtime shift for a plainclothes detail on the University of Idaho campus and related areas. Okay. During this patrol, I and the other officer with me, Officer Rosendahl, only had our body-worn cameras. My street time. See that little fucker? Dude, they're so tricky. They try to be so tricky. They teach these motherfuckers. My street time conducting the plainclothes detail concluded at 3:52 hours on November 13th, 2022. Now, again, I'm just going to remind everybody why this is all important, where the lies are. The first sentence, he refuses to state that Officer Rosendahl, he says, I began. He doesn't say we. He doesn't say I and Officer Rosendahl began. Like, I began my overtime shift for a plainclothes detail on the University of Idaho campus and related areas. This patrol was for minors in possession and consumption of alcohol, along with other alcohol drug offenses. During this patrol, I and the other officer with me, like, when did he join you, only had our body-worn cameras. We were operating out of the Moscow Police Department Ford Fusion, which I drove throughout the entire detail. Now, there is a report that comes up and surfaces way down the road where someone's like, has to fill out a report saying that I wasn't driving this vehicle. I have no idea what happened, but it wasn't me driving it. Do you guys remember that? Is Sarah in chat? Okay, where he lies here. So, first of all, Nate Rosendahl's name should be right there. It's not. So it was deleted. He then assumes that right here, he tells the world that I am Suspect Vehicle 1, the movements. This is the only car that does it. So we have the videos. Then he wants to talk about during one of the patrols, he sees a darker colored vehicle. He wants to tell the world that that's when, which to my best recollection was between 2 and 3, as we traveled north, and it just wasn't. There was no car there. Right here. This reminds me of Karen Reed. I saw several individuals approaching the residence, but I didn't see them go inside. During this detail, I was looking for alcohol beverages, open alcohol containers. I observed Meanwhile, Maddie's just smashed. So nowhere does he say that there was a dog missing. People were like yelling and whistling for dogs, right? Nope, didn't witness that. Then, upon my review of my radio history, I contacted 3 individuals at about 2:55. To the best of my recollection, this was after exiting King Street, after seeing the individuals at 1122 King Street, which we know is not true because there's no car that does that. And he wants to say, we cleared this contact at 3:32. Now, why would you have to make that lie? Well, because we're not going to be the 326 car on Indian Hills, and we're not going to be the 329 and 330 car on the respective cameras, King. But we can show you that that's not true. In fact, what we're going to do now is we're going to show that, well, I already showed it last night. They get in back over to the vehicles at 3:16, and they pull away at 3:19, giving them plenty of time to be the 326 car on Indian Hills, right? Yep. And then is it enough time for them to go make that loop, leave, and then be the car that gets on the cameras for, or when he puts on his camera for the signs? Is it enough time? If he's listening to his radio and he's watching and he's looking at his body worn camera, you know how easy this is? How can you possibly fuck this up? Like, you know that you did not clear at 3:32. You cleared at 3:16 to 3:19. Mm-hmm. Now I think I'm understanding more and more why we're missing video at 3:30 to 4:05. And remember, I've always said this: who would only know when that like block is missing, or if it's truly missing? The police. That's who knows that shit, because they're always going and getting that camera. Cheers. This is Saki. So I was looking for. Did Sarah say that if she was in chat? We have blood all over, what do you call it? At the whites. I do not believe that that's Xana's bracelet. I believe that that's a fish, like, lure. But how would Jacob Tisdall know that he needs to lie on 11/15? And why didn't Rosie write a report? Fuck out of here. Damn. Yes, it's definitely a fishing lure either way. A way on it. Yeah, that's what I think. That's a fishing lure. I think the blood's really fucking interesting, though. I just think that's interesting. Them not doing anything about it is interesting too. But hey, okay, here, hold on. Let me pull up I have my book here. Okay. There is an MPD report that takes us back to where somebody, oh boy. Okay. Okay. You guys remember this? So Payne's going to test all these colors out, right? But look at what he does. He also walked down and spoke to Officer Tisdall, who was providing scene security at this time. At 5 o'clock, their scheduling must have been really fucked up because I think he's a nighttime guy. So at 5 o'clock, I spoke with Officer Tisdall for a moment. Why would you even be writing that in there? Like, what the fuck? This is Tina with What the Fuck, Transition Services. Why are you talking? I spoke to Officer Tisdall for a moment and then began to walk back to my patrol vehicle. Were you asking him, like, hey, are these the loops that you took? As I did so, I noticed a black glove laying in the parking lot approximately 25 feet from the front door. Oh, this was the lie. That's right. This is the lie. So wait, this doesn't make any fucking sense. Why are you testing to see what a car looks like at 5 o'clock in the afternoon? When none of this was, you'd want to test and see what it looks like, I don't know, at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning? So fucking dumb. For fuck's sake. I asked Officer Tisdall for rubber gloves and his flashlight. Oh my God, I just thought about something. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I asked Officer Tisdall for his flashlight and I touched the glove because if there was DNA on it, I used Officer Tisdall's flashlight, which would have had his DNA on it. Oh my God, shut the fuck up. Hey, buddy, you have your flashlight on you? Can I borrow that? So Tisdall was just standing right there, but you pointed, you found the glove, and then Tisdall walked over. I mean, are you kidding me? The glove was laying palm up and appeared to have been laying in that spot for a couple of days, as it did not have any snow on it. I nudged the glove with the toe of my boot and found it was frozen to the ground. I asked Officer Tisdall for rubber gloves and his flashlight. Upon further examination, there appeared to be a dark, fluid-like substance on the glove. The substance's color and consistency was consistent with dried blood. Officer Tisdall provided me with an evidence bag, and I collected the glove. Interesting. Those two just seem to just be... Didn't Payne work nights too? How do we know that Payne wasn't doing these fucking, you know... Let me look at something else then. Okay, there's one of these that are... here. There we go. Holy shit. Remember this piece of proof? This piece of proof that we can't write down any dates because guess what? You guys weren't just looking for a white Honda Elantra. There was multiple vehicles that you thought that this could be. But also you guys weren't interested in that car at all because not until you had Brian Koberger's name, which I believe that you had by November 21st. I know that you had his name by November 21st because Don Daniels gave you a list, gave WSU a list with his name. Plus, you guys were asking WSU for stuff on November 19th and asking Pullman. The Laker. Remember, guys, on 11/15, that white vehicle was already claimed. Like they were, like Jacob Tisdall claimed it. Then they realized they had to walk that back. Oh, we're trying to look for this car. Okay. Where is that? Here's Blaker again. Come on, where is that? Oh, here. This is my next FOIA. I'm going to get his handwritten notes that he wrote. Unless somebody's already got them, then I'll tell them that I want to pay the $30. But I want to see his handwritten notes that he wrote down from basically because you know how they redacted stuff out? Well, I want to see Mitch Noonan's handwritten notes from when he was interviewing everybody that day. Is that coming out already? I was going through stuff. Here you go. Next, I reviewed my files and located an Excel spreadsheet and notes I had taken while calling all commercial properties in town asking for video surveillance during this investigation. I scanned and attached both the spreadsheet and a video request forms I filled out for the Applebee's location and these other ones. We're going to go with that. Because we're going to see, I was told that 7 cameras that should have had this car on it, no matter which way it would have been coming, like we have it all covered, it's not there. So like, where did this vehicle truly originate from? Okay. I want to remind you guys of this. Danny Vargas. Look at this shit. She's being forced to write a report on 10/4/2023 because Danny Vargas claims that she did this work, but that she never did, though. She claims that early on in the investigation, after Kohlberger had been identified as the suspect, I did an initial search for the following names/phone numbers throughout several accounts belonging to the victims. I said, oh, is that a fact? So you went through their phones, or you went through their accounts or their apps or whatever to see basically if any of these victims had these triggered, like Brian Kohlberger, Brian Christopher, like Papa Rogers. Remember this shit? Then these two are redacted. What the fuck is that? You know, what is that? Who is that? Papa Rogers. They were interested in Papa Rogers. Like, I did not find any. I think Papa Rogers is Steve Gonsalves. If the fucking police are putting that shit in. I did not find any of the above terms related to Kohlberger in the following accounts listed below. I'm just reminding us all on a walk down memory lane here. iCloud, Snapchat, all this shit. I'm surprised that they didn't look up drug slang, drug terms. But look at this. Keely. Like, everything's Kaylee. Bethany, Instagram. Dylan, Instagram. Ethan, Xana, Maddie. Xana, Ethan, Bethany, Dylan, Jack Decor. My notes are attached electronically to the case file. I'll be getting them notes, girl. We're going to come get your notes, Danny. Next for you. What number is that? 24. 245. Can only imagine what those notes show. Now where is I'm looking for something specific, and it was somebody had to talk about the fact that they weren't driving a vehicle, and they're like, that wasn't me driving. Okay, let's see if we can think of this. Okay, ready? Let's go big. Go big or go home. On Tuesday, October 24th, 2023, I received a tip from TS, wait, what? Which needed to be followed up on. Tip 7280. The tip was originally captured in the FBI's VCC system. See, originally. So, what's the date of this original tip? The tip stated, who is this AL person? This AL person thought her friend HR drove a white Hyundai Elantra and was around 1122 King Road the night of the homicides. Special Agent Shirley spoke to R in December, but there were no details in VCC as to what he found out. Ann Taylor was interested in this. I called this person on Tuesday, October 24, 2023. This person confirmed she spoke to Shirley in December. I asked this person what kind of car she drove. RA said that she drove a 2014 white Ford Focus. I confirmed this by running her license plate through the Idaho DMV, which showed a white Focus. I asked this person if she had been driving near King Road the night of the homicides. She said that she was not, and said her car was parked on the street near her sorority at blank blank street in Moscow. Blank said that she saw Xana briefly at a frat the night prior. What? To the homicide, but otherwise had nothing else to talk about. We need to get this. What the fuck you talking about, Willis? What do you mean? I can only imagine who wrote this stupid shit. Okay, we're gonna go get this one. She had to have way more to say than that, Payne. You suck. Oh, wee. Okay. Oh, what's this? Okay. I received an email from Detective Corporal Brett Payne asking for a review in detail of my body-worn camera regarding this case and my involvement. Jason House. Due to my minimal involvement and lack of discovered information. Oh my God, this is this chick though. Holy shit, hold on. Yes. Okay. This is the guy that actually walked around and actually talked to the girl that gave the information. So you guys don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, so I responded to 1122 King Road to assist with canvassing the immediate area, and I was tasked with conducting door-to-door contact in the Queen Road area. I was informed that a likely time of the incident was between approximately 4 and 4:45. When were you told this? Wait a second, excuse me? God, okay. Is that on the body-worn camera when you were going before you? I would love to hear that. Remember, this is the guy, the neighborhood canvas guy. I was advised that other officers had already covered the south-facing apartments. Yep, I began going door to door in the center. Okay. I spoke with several tenants who stated that they did not hear anything strange, and their only interaction to 112 King was brought upon by the increased police presence. I did not identify the tenants spoke to who say they didn't have an awake or alert or unusual sounds. Great job. Wonderful canvas. Well, look at that shit. Look at this. Wow. Okay. I spoke with the tenants in apartment blank who stated that they went to bed around 1 and music was present at 1122 King Road at 1. So fuck your Vampire Diaries, right? Which they stated was pretty much every weekend. Both tenants said they woke up around 9:30 hours. There was no strange alarms, blah, 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 blah. Okay. I spoke with the tenant in apartment blank, identified as right here. Who are these people? Oh, how did you identify these people? He didn't ask for names, did he? I spoke with the tenants in apartment blank, identified as. Oh, wait, is this? The two say that they were at a birthday party on Blake Street. Is this the 21st birthday party? Approximately 1.5 blocks away, and got to bed in the early morning hours. Why don't you put the hours? Estimated to be around 4. I asked which way they walked back from their party, And blank described them as walking back west on Taylor Ave, then cutting up the stair path just west of blank Taylor. What? The stairs travel from the parking lot of blank Taylor up to the Queen Roads. Yep. Straight at the gravel parking lot. Both this person and this person stated that they did not see anyone outside or pass anyone as they were walking. Is this the domestic dispute? Are these the people? I asked if there was still a party or music going on at 1122 King Road. They're coming up at 4 when they walked by, and they stated that there was. So they walked straight at the gravel parking lot. That's what's right there. Because they walked straight up the Queen Road. They walked those stairs. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, and they did not hear anything that alarmed them in any way. I spoke with the female tenant of apartment blank who said that she works a red eye. Here she is. Here she blows. This is her. This is our chick. We got this interview coming this week. Not this one, but the one that they tried to conduct with her, after the fact, and got her to say that she was like petting and feeding her cats because they were sick. I spoke with the female tenant of apartment blank who stated she works a red eye and she got home at 6:30 hours and had left for work at 9:45 on 11/12/2022. She stated that there was activity, people coming and going from 1122 King Road at that time, but there was no one walking around at 6:30 when she returned home. She also told you about that crazy ass incident. Like, she's like, there was something weird going on. After conducting the canvass through my assigned area, I cleared the scene. At no time during my involvement in the area did I cross into the designated crime scene. I wonder what he wanted from that. Several days later, I passed on my notes to the ISP investigations team. Ooh, he's telling on him. He's like, fuck this, dude. I gave you all this shit. Don't make me like... I passed on my team assignment with them. Several days later, I passed on my notes to the ISP investigations team assigned with the more thorough canvass of the area, highlighting the address and names of this and this who stated that they were on foot in the area near the approximate time of the incident, which seemed to be the only substantial contact from my canvass. They buried it. This is what Ann Taylor wanted. You want to know why didn't Jason House write up a report? Like, who are these people? Because you want to talk to them. So he had to write a report a year and a half afterwards. Ridiculous. Well, oh, here he goes. Oh, yes, I found it. I found it. Oh, my God, we found it. Oh, my God, here it is. I told you it would just take me a second. Boom. Fuck yeah. Here we go. Let's fuck. Here it is. Yes. Okay, guys, this is the Jam Fest. All right. Look at this shit. Jay Waters says, you see these? 11/12/2022, 18:53 and 36, 11:13. This would be at 8:51, 11:13, 9:37. Ready? He says on 11/12/2022 at 18:53 hours, which is 6:53, there is a 4RE vehicle video saved under my name and badge number. The video depicts a patrol car transporting 2 Moscow police cadets to the Kibbe Dome. Sometime later, the vehicle returned to the police department. I do not know who was actually driving the vehicle, but it was not me. Thank you, motherfuckers. This is what I'm talking about. Boom, bitch. How can this possibly happen? How can somebody be like, he's like, I have no idea who's logged in under me. And somebody was logged in under him. Remember, there was you guys, anytime there's a football game, they have usually people like, hey, there's a home football game. We're going to have our blank task out. You know, that's whoever working, doing something, right? Here it is. The crazy part is he's like, I have no idea I do not know who was actually driving the vehicle, but it was not me. And the video depicts a patrol car transporting 2 Moscow police cadets to the Kibbe Dome. And that's at 6:53. That's like the game was at 4. On 11/13/2022 at 8:51, I responded to 1122 King Road. I was asked to maintain a written scene access log. Blank arrived on scene. Ooh. Okay, yep, I remember that. Officer Morris arrived on scene and relieved me at the door. I handed Officer Morris the crime scene. Okay, I escorted blank to the funeral home. I stopped the recording on my BWC while driving at approximately 9:30. I reactivated my body-worn camera at 9:37. I remained up as the 2 victims were offloaded. I deactivated my body-worn camera at approximately 9:45. Well, all I care about is we going to town on this puppy right here. Let's go ahead and see what we got here. But all I know is that how can somebody be in under your badge? Okay. The night of the murders, you're saying that you're escorting people, you're under somebody else's name. So guess what that means? So you can just we needed, what else was under Jay Waters' shit? Who knows? Unbelievable. I can tell you this. Ann Taylor asked for every fucking body cam of everybody and anything that they did that day. And she came across, which was interesting, is for this to be wrote up here, it's like, here, write up a report, because Ann Taylor's asking for a report, like, who are these 2 people that you're dropping off? Probably like, I don't know. But for this report to be written 2 years after the fact. And the big thing here is, how the fuck are you in under someone else's name? There is a 4-hour vehicle video saved under my name and badge number. The video depicts a patrol car transporting 2 Moscow police cadets to the Kibbe Dome. And we're going to go and see who was working at that time. How do you not know who the fuck it is? You don't hear a voice. You can't tell whose voice it is. Bunch of idiots. Report 265. Okay. That's the one that we wanted, though. All right, guys. Woo. Oh, here. And this one, this is the other FOIA that we put in this weekend. Ann Taylor asked for it. We want it too, because now it matters. I knew why she asked for it, but on Tuesday, March 19th, 2024, I received an email from Blaker containing 2 attachments. The first attachment was titled Vehicle List. This document contained all information on MPD's fleet of vehicles to include non-patrol and unmarked vehicles. I cannot wait to see what the names are of those. The second attachment, the MPD schedule 1112 to 1113. This, see, she was on, she's like, who was working? This document contained the entire shift schedule for MPD officers from those dates. These two documents were provided in response to defense counsel requests. I attached both files to the Spillman case file. Later on 3/19/2022, what? That can't be that day because look at this. Moron. He means 2024. I received an email from Whitcomb director with 4 attachments. Oh, shit. Yes. This is what we gonna get, boy. Payne's realizing, yep. Anto don't believe a word you say. MPD calls 1112 to 1113. Also with text, it looks like MPD radio log. Payne's IM conversations, Payne's threads. These documents contain additional information requested by defense counsel. I attached them. Oh, Payne. It's okay. Look at Auntie. Did I write that down? That's where we'll stop. That's where we will stop today. 267. All right. Gonna make sure that we have all of those in correctly tonight to make sure they're all good. Okay. I think is Jay Waters even still with MPD now? I don't even know. Give a shout out to everybody that gave super stickers, super chats. We'll be having a lovely, nice conversation with Jesse tomorrow. And they're going to, I think, probably pass out, but it's okay. We're going to keep it nice, nice and simple. They gave us hella more material than Moscow. Thank you so much, Allie Tally. Gifted 10 Truth and Transparency memberships. If you turn green, it's probably because of Allie Tally tonight. I appreciate you, Lana. Idaho. LOL. Grateful Dan. Thanks, Grateful Dan. Lana, you certainly have the nose for it. You like my nose? Thanks. Love you, girl. Keep it coming. We appreciate your hard work. Thank you. Thank you. Believe in truths. Always the best. Thank you for all you do. Thank you so much. True Crime Cafe with, oh, there he is again. Hello, Lana. Member for 14 months, baby. Bringing that T-Pain. Marsha, what you been up to, girl? Thank you, Lana, for all you do to TJD the Truth. Am I understanding that right? Here goes to the Molly McMichael billboard. Molly, you in danger, girl. I'm also going to try to reach out to the kids that got stopped in the band field. I only have a couple questions for them. I love me some Lana. So does my wife. Thank you so much. Seahawk band. You guys had some, did you guys get to go down and do any of the World Cup stuff? Did you go to the Fan Fest experience? It's going on still every day. You can go down there and tailgate and party, and it's sweet. Almost 400 now. Yep. Get your thumbs up. Get your thumbs down. Do something with your thumbs. If you're laying in bed, don't worry about it. Do it later. What other questions do you guys have? Are we understanding that it is now undeniable? Nate's name should be here. It's not. We believe that a total of 5 names were deleted. Somebody did that at the last minute, right before they, filed this with the ODP. Atlanta, we had World Cup here in Dallas. Oh, yeah. It was hotter than a witch's tit when I was in Houston, so. I think we're going to get approved for this billboard. I don't think that, from my understanding, these people love people that fight corruption. Maybe we might have to do one that says don't vote for. I mean, Ashley Jennings cannot run that town. Molly, why people? So think of catchy billboard phrase. Molly, come get your cash, girl. Molly McMichaels, we have your cash. Molly McMichaels, you forgot. I just want. Hey, we forgot to give you your tip. Come on, girl. Molly, you in danger. Yeah, it's from Ghost. I love it. I told her she was in danger, girl. Fucking A, Molly. Molly, it's the quickest cash app. Hey, finder's fee. Get Molly to do it. Molly, don't worry. You don't have to come anywhere. You just do it right from your comfort of your own car if you would like. I would love for you to have your dog with you. Yeah, I thought about that, but that would have come out with his phone. Anybody's phone that was downloaded, that shit's going to be on there. This is somebody's phone that wasn't taken and downloaded. I think for the police to put that in there. So we got Matt coming back. We got anybody that's trying to say that these kids weren't doing drugs. Again, I have now 2 independent sources. And now we're talking about people that were, hey, you could score some shit from people that were in that house behind. Those people were calling in noise complaints. Those people have plenty of knives over there. Simon says, entered himself into the, hey, at 417, get the fuck out of here. Kiss my ass. Okay? Kiss my ass. At 417, I heard some shit. Really? Okay. But and Moscow should be getting back to us about the fact that you guys, they're in a lot of fucking trouble, man. Do I also have, you know what? I want to fucking mention the EWU shit really quick. Fucking EWU. You guys aren't going anywhere. Just listen while you go to sleep. EWU. You guys, they gave me a 373 FOIA that they charged $373, and they yanked the files. You don't think that Atlanta's gonna go fucking ham on them? I just don't know if I should do it on the live or if I should just record it and then play it on the live for you guys. Because I think that I'm just gonna do it that way. Because I think I'm gonna be pushed around to a couple different people because it's gonna have to go to the lawyer. Eric Warner purposely pulled paperwork so that I wouldn't have that piece of paper that shows Jacob Tisdall. And the other one that they pulled was, and they never filed it, was, okay, what 4 fucking underage parties did you break up? Where'd that happen? Where the fuck was that? Was it at sororities? Where were you breaking up parties? The hell's EWU shit? I just printed that crap. I'll save it for tomorrow. It's the stupidest shit I've ever seen. They took 3 weeks, 4 weeks, however fucking long it's been, to literally write what Iwu asked for. The other side, Mia Batista, wrote a fucking Excel spreadsheet and listed all this shit out. I'm like, you got to be shitting me. That's so they could say, we want to even know what's being requested. We don't even know what's being requested. Wild. Wild shit. What's up, Hoffy Master? I've been here. No worries. Almost a baby. 11 months. Isn't 9 months a baby? Sent those handwritten notes to you. Oh, you have them? Sweet. But I can promise you we already had a baby. It's okay. How have you been drinking? Did you see that interview with Brian Etten? It's a joke. You guys want to talk about that? I could talk about that. How about, hey, did you guys see, hey, Brian Etten, did you see how Moscow on the night of the murders are hiding and lying and frauding the government? The night of the murders and hiding where people are working and who was working and what they were doing outside of the murder scene. How about that? They want to fucking talk about 8 mil. Well, duh, it costs a shit ton of money. It's a death penalty case. Ann Taylor was doing her job. Ann Taylor got all those experts. You guys want to fuck around and find out and not turn over discovery and make Ann Taylor do all this stupid ass shit, right? Bill Thompson, why didn't you offer the fucking plea deal? I don't know, 3 years earlier, you wouldn't have fucking spent a goddamn dollar. You know, you want me to fucking start running my mouth about this? Bill Thompson brought the fucking plea. Why'd you wait 3 years to offer a plea deal? Because you didn't want to fucking see your pants around your ankles and everybody else in your fucking, you know, your stretch. You know, 8 million. 8 million didn't even have a trial. Those people should fire all those people. Like, I cannot believe that Idaho's over here like, huh? What's going on? Yeah. Go fucking traffic some more kids. Idaho, wake up. Oh, wait, we still get our guns, right? Okay, we're good. Come on now. Brian Etten ain't paid to see that. Let's pull it up here. You know what I think is great is that Kevin Fixer's doing all this work and Brian Etten's just like, hey, do you want to come on my channel and talk about it? I'm going to write Kevin Fixer. Hey, Kevin, do you want to come on my channel and talk about all your work? Because I want to know why you haven't looked into any of the federal grant money. How about that? What is it? Brian Etten and what's his name? There we go. 8 mil. Watched like 3 minutes and I was like, yeah.
It ended up being about half, and I'll explain that in a moment. And then there was the creation of a state public defender's office in the state of Idaho. It transitioned. There was a new state law that switched it from a county-based system where they fund the defense for someone like an indigent defendant like Brian Koberger, and then it transitioned at the halfway mark, and so the state basically ended up picking up the bill. So Idaho or Latah County spent about $2.75 million for Brian Koberger's defense, and then that transitioned then over on the state side in the lead up to trial, and then as he pled, and there's been some residual costs and some different things, some billing. They paid about 2.67.
It's kind of crazy to think that there wasn't even a trial. I mean, when you hear those numbers, they would sound high anyway. But that there ended up just being a plea. Like there wasn't even a
yeah, why didn't you? So why aren't you asking Bill Thompson? He offered the plea 3 years down the road. Why would you do that and waste $8 million? $8 million.
a trial and it costs $8 million.
Yeah, and then the things to take into mind, and I include this in my story, but I explain that there have been lots of research studies, mostly through academia, but for the neighboring states in Oregon and Washington, which both used to have the death penalty, neither do anymore. But there have been studies that show consistently, on average, a capital case, a death penalty case, just to pursue it costs at least $1 million more. So Had they gone to trial and had there been a conviction and then a jury was weighing whether or not to sentence him to death. And, beyond that, the other thing that comes from that, we have all the appeals that generally come up. And so when he pled guilty, he waived his right to appeal, in part in exchange for removing the death penalty. And he was obviously sentenced to 4 consecutive life sentences plus some years for the burglary charge. But you're adding even additional cost if you actually go through with a trial and then also all that appeal process, which, I mean, that can get into tens of millions more. We have a prisoner here in Idaho who's been on death row for almost 50 years. And I have anecdotally been told it's difficult to assign a cost to it, but I've been told that case has cost the state tens of millions of dollars over those years. So, the kind of untold costs ultimately, but again, we landed at 8 million here, and then roughly most of that is for the defense, 5.5.
Do we know how much his lawyers made, like Ann Taylor?
5.5 million. His defense cost. For you guys, for what? For what? For what? I'm being serious. For what? Personnel. You guys know what that's from? Don't tell mom the babysitter's dead.
Were you able to break that down?
I was to some extent, and I think we're going to get into, a legal effort that myself and my newspaper are involved in to get more information, including that. But from when it was in that county-based system, it was running through this resource judge and this sealed case file where his attorneys had to invoice and get approvals through a judge. And again, I think we'll get more into that. But all that is really rather protected. Ann Taylor at the time was the chief public defender, an appointed position in Kootenai County, which is the county just north of Latah County. And she was submitting her time, and basically her county was being reimbursed by Latah County for the time she was spending on this case. Now, that's a little bit of minutia, but at some point they decided they were no longer going to do that. And so there are some records. In fact, Mike Ruiz at Fox News had obtained those from Kootenai County, and it showed some of her initial billable hours, the hours she was putting into the case, but then that ended. And so we can't actually see how many hours she or her team members, J-Logs.
I'm right on top of that, Rose. Yes, don't be hating. Got it. Yeah.
At the time, and then you also had Lisa Masseth join the case, and then there was another attorney down the road, which I'll mention. But we can't see what they billed on the county side. That all sits in the sealed civil case file attached to the criminal case. But when it made that transition to the state-based system, we do have an idea because they were willing, through public records requests, the state public defender's office in Idaho was willing to identify the billable hours, or at least the payments to the individual attorneys. I will say that also includes reimbursements for things like meals, lodging, travel. So the totals that I was given, which are each in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, are for half of the case. They were actually paid a reduced rate from what she was originally supposed to be paid on the hourly that the court assigned. But we have a rough idea, but it's for only half the case. So we could do something like extrapolate and basically double that, but it's very possible it's even more than that amount. So I don't have a full idea, but it's, again, because a lot of it sits in this sealed case file.
But sorry, Kevin, by the way, is joining me from you're at a wedding this weekend, so I understand if you're distracted. And it looks like a nice background, by the way. I do miss it.
He's joining us for a wedding? Wait, what the fuck? Dude, you can wait a couple days. We'll get this story out, okay?
Yeah. Looks really pretty.
There was a gentleman.
It looks really pretty. The things I would do to you, Kevin Bixler, with that background.
Who walked by, so I just ran.
No problem.
I'm just at a wedding here. Hey.
But like, do you have any? Do you think she ended up making like close to $1 million?
Oh my God, she made way more than $1 million. What the fuck are you talking about, Brian Enton? She should make way more than a fucking $1 million too. You know how much stress she probably was under? Okay. All these fucking trolls out here trying to get her job, trying to say that she knew Xana's mom and she did not.
Do you think it's going to be less than that? Or do we have no way of knowing?
Yeah, so in the story, I identified that she was paid $485,000 for essentially what was, I think, the latter 18 months of the case. But that also includes some additional hours she was billing, because whether people realize this or not, she continues to represent Brian Coverter. It's in a much less capacity, but including actually because of this litigation we're involved in, and she was defending Brian Coverter. She then was billing, it appears, to the state public defender's office. So you know,
which is interesting that, yeah, the legal fight with you and your newspaper, she's making even more money, which I want to get to the legal battle in a second because I think it's really interesting, but I want to understand the cost a little more. I thought, and there's a really good like pie graph in the article that like breaks it all down. I didn't realize how much the University of Idaho had spent also. I mean, more than $1 million.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, it was approaching 2. So the number that I landed on was about $1.71 million, and that dates to the very beginning of the case. And so that included, primarily, it was about ramped up security. So they then brought in Idaho State Police troopers to do additional patrols around the campus and even the extended community area. And so they had to backfill that money. It was about $241,000 that they paid Idaho State Police for essentially overtime. But then they did a big security review plan with a private firm. That I'm kind of jogging my memory, but I believe that was somewhere in the like $350,000 range that they paid for that. And then they were paying for a private security firm themselves. And then they were also paying for overtime for their own campus security. So that all totaled a little bit more than $1 million. And then you had things like the house.
Excuse me? For an isolated targeted attack, we need to completely, for a off-campus housing, $1.7 million the University of Idaho paid for what? Yeah, to keep everybody hush hush. We're gonna have all eyes on everybody. If anybody fucking gets out of character, we're fucking chopping their nuts off. Well, again, guys, stupid, but who cares if that's how they want to? This didn't. If that's what you want to do with your money, okay. I thought that you had one of the safest campuses on fucking the planet. You need to have a consulting firm come in and pay them $300,000 for them to tell you what this is what you need to do. What? Excuse me? Don't worry, you made it all back in your fucking book.
Crime scene was eventually donated by its owner to the university, but it was still not an active crime scene, but something they had to protect. So they had to put up fencing that comes with a fee. They had to do remediation work repeatedly. They had to basically maintain the place.
They didn't cut the grass ever once.
24/7 security guard. So they were paying those fees.
Fencing. Yeah, they put out a porta potty. They put scene security.
I mean, it was hundreds of dollars. I think it was $600 per day they were paying for that until
$600 a day to pay for what? Turned down for what? For fucking scene security? Interesting. Why don't you just put a bunch of cameras up? What's in there?
They made the decision kind of controversially before a trial and against the wishes of some of the families, but they eventually knocked down the house in December of 23. And up until that point, they were paying for a lot of costs, and then they had to pay about $14,000 to actually bulldoze the thing. So it was something about $400,000 all in on the security and all the different needs that the university doled out for the home. I will say the Idaho legislature, understanding kind of this emergency situation, then dedicated an additional $1 million to the university to try to assist with some of that. So, but there was a lot of money that they had to cough up. And then the final thing I was able to identify that the university paid for was the memorial garden, the Vandal Garden, that's dedicated to the 4 students whose lives were lost. And actually, in addition to any student who had been enrolled at the university and died during that period. So that's just, the history of any sort of campus death. So it's a beautiful facility. It was designed and constructed by actual architectural students. So it reduced a lot of the cost, but that ended up being $285,000, and a lot of it was private donations specific for that. So I didn't include those numbers, but they did actually chip in $100,000 from student affairs. So that is an item or a line item I did include in the total.
Yeah, and it is a beautiful memorial. That part isn't quite as infuriating to some people probably as hearing the totals with some of the other stuff.
A memorial garden for $285,000 fucking dollars. Are you people high? This fucking better look like, I don't know, a whole damn house. $285,000. Think about what type of house you can get for that, especially over there in Moscow. #1 place to live, cheapest place to live.
Koberger's defense. There was something interesting in your article that stood out to me. It's a small number compared to everything else, but I just thought it was interesting because I travel all the time, that the prosecutor's office got stuck with a $16,400.
The prosecutor's office got stuck with a $16,000 what?
Non-refundable fee for lodging it reserved in Boise once the case was moved out of Moscow for trial. And then I guess because there was no trial, they didn't get the money back. Is that what that is?
Okay, that's just poor fucking planning. Like, who? That's Bill Thompson's stupid ass. That's one of these idiots that goes and gets a fucking what Airbnb non-refundable. Okay, like moronic shit. Like, no fucking logic. They have no logistics. Okay, they lack heavily. So they had to eat the money for their trial. They were planning on spending $16,000 to stay somewhere during the trial. And how the fuck y'all? What?
Yeah, I mean, you got to.
I mean, I personally think that's cheap as fuck. Let me tell you why. Because one person to stay in a hotel or to stay in a Airbnb, I did it. I had it all like lined up, right? And how many people are they gonna? Are Bill and fucking Ashley gonna share the same room? This is pennies. $16,000 to put Joshua Herwick up. Bill has his own room. Ashley, I mean, probably some paralegals. Okay, maybe we can put those hoes all in the same room. But think about that. Okay, 16 grand for they were planning on like 2 months. That's pennies. God bless America. It's like $1,000 a week. So I don't know. I don't know what. Idaho, you guys don't got no. You got no friends in Ada County that were like, here, you guys can just Airbnb my house for the month and pay me like 3 G's. Each can get your own bedroom. And you can have a war room right there in the middle, right there in the living room. Let's get a camera going. You want a camera crew in here? Okay, how much money do you think went to actually like, oh, we're gonna do like huge documentaries, and so we probably lined up a bunch of shit. Cry me a fucking river, man. $16,000. What a bunch of idiots. Non-refundable. All of it was non-refundable. Fucks.
Think this through, and I think there's actually a lot of conspiracies that people think that this was never going to go to trial, for instance, or it was always the plan to plea. And I think, I mean, I'd have to defer to you. I mean, we knew for a very short period how quickly that turned around and a plea deal was reached, but everyone was gearing up for trial. The prosecution, members of Idaho State Police, because they were going to have to be experts for the prosecution and then cross-examined by the defense, and both. And I imagine the defense did too. I just don't know those numbers or those specifics, but the prosecution reserved the house, and in fact, they may have reserved 2. And so when it moved, it created all these travel costs and lodging costs for the prosecution, and they were planning accordingly. And one of the identifiable numbers from Lake Talk County Prosecutor's Office was they had reserved this space, and for whatever reason, it was non-refundable. So,
you guys, they got a house for $16,000. What are they on fucking Real World? Like Real World house? Like what the hell? Do you guys know what type of place y'all are renting for $16,000 for a month? Even if you did an $8,000 house for, because like let's say that was for 2 months. So, I mean, how many months did y'all rent this house out? And I'd be like, fuck all that, dude. We're gonna get a hotel room, and we're just gonna use the conference room. We're gonna have all of our stuff in there because if I need to get away, like I don't need to like you to be all up in my motherfucking shit. Okay, sorry.
They lost all that money. Idaho State Police in their booking, I think also an Airbnb, they were going to put out about $40,000, and for a house in their booking, I think for whatever reason it was non-refundable. So they lost all that money. Idaho State Police in their booking, I think also an Airbnb, they were going to put out about $40,000, and
Leslie Lehman was probably in charge of that. Idaho State Police. We're I mean, our budget's $40,000 to attend this thing. Well, because what were they just going to be sequestered? Do we have to sequester everybody and they're not going to be able to watch anything and they just have to sit in a hotel because they were all witnesses? And then, I mean, what?
For a house in Boise, they just happened to be in a situation where they got all but about $1,400 back.
They got all of it except $1,400. How did they lose out even on $1,400? Okay, like I'm sorry, but how did you?
I could have given them some, just always traveling. I always book refundable. That's why that stood out to me, especially like with the trial. You never know when something's going to get moved. Like I would have never booked. I mean, I know it's more complicated for them, but that just kind of stood out to me.
Yeah, exactly, Brian. Okay, we know that you are just a very tight wad with your money. We get it. Okay, girl. Okay, but I get it, Brian. You're a traveler. Okay, but these people are Idahoans. They do not think. Okay. And when you spend on somebody else's money, they just don't give a fuck. They spend on your money, your citizens'
like, man, they should have booked refundable. I mean,
I mean,
anything
it's
can
just
happen with a
stupid.
trial. That's a lot of money. I mean, for them to just lose.
Yeah, it ain't nothing.
Yeah, but the big total, I mean, $8 million. It's just, that's why I was, when
That's
I
how
saw
it
your
gets to
article, I
be
was
$8
just like,
million.
oh my gosh.
Yeah,
But what's really interesting is
okay, listen, stop. This is exactly how it gets to be $8 million. Okay. Because you need to bring a financial person in on this shit. Like, this is absurd. But because of stuff like that, do you guys think that's the only thing they wasted money on? Give me a break. Out of here. Idiots. Absolutely idiots. Just. And I want to know where they were staying, because I booked a pimp ass place because I was going all out for the Idaho4 case. I wanted to have a pool party. I wanted to have happy hour, and I wanted to be able to enjoy the case. You know, I was tailgating for the truth. And so they must have been like real rolling. Like, I mean, where were they staying? Because I don't know how $16,000 is. They rented out the real world house. I'm telling you.
On this, there's this legal fight happening between you and your newspaper, but you guys and you and the newspaper versus Brian Koberger, essentially, or his attorneys, who are explaining it. I guess they still don't want to give you all of the documents related to what this cost.
Yes. So I'll take you back to the beginning. So people will recall that Judge John Judge was the judge who was supposed to oversee this trial, and that was up in Moscow in Latah County. He eventually made the decision to move the case, but back in January of 2023, in order to avoid any sort of conflict, he assigned another judge from that district elsewhere in North Idaho to basically manage decisions about the public money, the account that could be tapped by Koberger's defense team. So these were all public funds. The Latah County, they set aside this extraordinary defense fund of $1 million per year, basically, is what that ended up being. And so they can't just carte blanche spend that money. They had to have somebody who's basically overseeing it. So John Judge appoints another judge. It's technically a civil case, which that even confuses me, but it's a separate sealed case that's totally unaffiliated, although it's attached. And so this judge was making decisions about what money could be spent on that. So
yeah, I was going to ask that earlier. So the judge, because I was wondering, like, could they just spend whatever they want? But it sounds like this judge was the one kind of overseeing that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're essentially.
You guys, the reason that you can spend whatever you want is because Ann Taylor isn't lazy, and neither was. This is what's amazing when you actually don't have lazy attorneys. You have to fill out. You just have to fill out. Go put the motions in, and you will get the money. Like Richard Allen's. I'm sorry, but Richard Allen needed better people that filled out stuff correctly and went and got the money that he is deserved and owed. Okay, like. Henry Tennant's lawyer right now is filling out all of her shit so that Henry Tennant can have, a crime scene reenactment specialist, all these things. And so here it's just like, yeah, Ann Taylor's filling it out, and this is what we need, and this is what it is. And this, I mean, that's what you have to do. Plus, it's a death penalty case. That's why I always say, hey, if somebody can advocate for you, and you can just go get a public defender, because if you have somebody that's advocating and saying and telling you what you can have, and that this person needs to do this, this, and this, like, they have to go and do that. I don't. Ann Taylor went ham, but that's what you're supposed to do. That's what you're supposed to do. The state gets to what? Try to convict you with $5 million, and you get to use $50,000, or like even what? They get to use $3 million, and you get to use what? $500,000. You think that's fucking fair? Fuck out of here. No, it's not fair. No, sorry. Especially Idaho. Like, they clearly don't know how to budget gas. Okay. They probably shit. Oh God, we're going to need to put gas in our cars, aren't we? Like, I mean, just idiot. They're just lacking. They all need to go back to school for that last day. Those schools out there that don't go to school on Friday, y'all need to cut that shit out. Those kids need to be in school.
Trying to justify. And, because I don't know a lot about what's in that case file, I can't tell you the things he said no, or no, you need to find a cheaper expert, or no, your billable hours couldn't be that. I mean, I have no idea. That's the problem. It's a completely sealed case. Okay. So, we move through the whole process. John Judge ends up off the case. It moves to Boise. That case file still exists. I mean, the defense was still gearing up, and they're hiring experts who are going to testify at trial, and all of that. And, they're still invoicing for their time. And by this point, they brought on a different attorney, this woman, Becca Barlow, a San Francisco DNA expert. She's an attorney, and she joined their team. Jay Logston kind of takes a seat back. So her hours are included in that. And so all these approvals and review process continued by this North Idaho judge in this completely sealed case. So once this was all resolved, that, from my perspective, should be open to the public. These were public dollars. So we know that there was about $5.5 million spent. And so we want to understand how that money was spent, whether it was on the attorneys or what experts or all the details. It all sits in this sealed case file.
I know exactly. So let me ask you something. How in the world, because it is public, how are they able to keep it sealed?
So in December of last year, so 2025, the case gets resolved in July of 2025 with his plea, and then he gets sentenced to prison, which is where he sits today. That should all be open to the public to review from my perspective. So
yeah, everything should be. Everything should be. Not just that, everything.
They essentially filed a public records request with that court and asked specifically about that sealed case file. And they'd never seen anything like this. And they had to figure out, like, what do we do here? And so I'm basically asking the judge who was reviewing and making decisions and approvals for how the defense spent the money, hey, I'd like to open that case file. And he received it as an unsealing process, which is a thing. Is a process. You don't have to be a member of the media. You could be somebody who just wants to unseal a court file and they make a decision about that.
Yeah,
well,
guess what court file I'm going to go for? I want to unseal Ann Taylor's previous case that she did where she got a girl acquitted who was charged with killing her boyfriend's kid. And he was like a sheriff's son, like a sheriff's deputy son. Because I kid you not, guys, I had my hands on this file. Like I was getting it. I was in the process of downloading it. And then all of a sudden, it was sealed. And I was like, what the, this was back in 2023. And I was like, I think Ann Taylor had that sealed because I was going to look at how she filed her motions. I wanted to see how she played the game. I want to see how she clearly got this girl acquitted, who I thought would be a hard acquittal because of you're dealing with the cops. And I also know that Ann Taylor knows how these cops are. And so that's why when it's just hard for me to believe that Ann Taylor sold out, guys, because she had no problem taking them on because she took them on before. And so I don't think that that's it.
Well, in filing for that, Ann Taylor opposed it. She objected to any of these being open with the understanding, and the argument was, well, this was always intended to be a sealed case file. That was her understanding, and they've used these in past cases like the Daybell cases. There were case files like this that are sealed. And so she argued that it was attorney-client privileged. She argued that it had a lot of work product, which is a protected document in the state of Idaho, and I think in many other states, and you can use that to exempt certain records and public records requests. And so we basically were sitting in themselves sealed hearings with this judge. We have an attorney. It's not me making the argument, but we have an attorney representing us and basically making opposing arguments with Ann Taylor on behalf of Brian Coverter about whether or not these documents should ever be released. Her position is none of those records should be released. It was always understood to be a sealed file. We prevailed in that case. The judge ruled on our behalf. He did say some of these documents are clearly exempt. There are things like educational and medical records which would be protected, and other intimate details, things that just the public is not entitled to see about any defendant, let alone Brian Coverter. And so he invited Ann Taylor to object to specific documents as these things would be released, and we would get the case file. So again, we prevailed. Ann Taylor then, and this is the first time we've ever been able to reveal this because it was a sealed case file, but we had to get approvals just to even ensure like we can report about this now, right? Like we've won and there are documents that are now public. So it is out for public digestion. All that to say. And
wait, where is this out for public digestion? What the fuck are you talking about? Where is this file at?
Taylor continued to object and has now appealed the case to the Idaho Supreme Court for review of this ruling. The Idaho Supreme Court, this is a case of first impression because it's just so unique. It's not often that these sealed case files get open, but part of the argument is that there are appeals. There are things that could prohibit the release of this information. But in Coverter's case, that's not the situation. It's fully adjudicated. There are no
it's not fully adjudicated. I'm sorry, but it's just not.
Appeals. And so this is kind of a residual.
I can't believe that he's saying this right now.
Consequence, sort of interestingly. And so the Idaho Supreme Court now will make the decision on whether or not and which documents from this sealed case file, which is now up for being unsealed, and whether or not we'll ever get to see all the details about what the attorneys made and what each of these experts made and how all the money was spent.
How long have you been in these hearings for?
Well, so I filed for this back in December of 2025. I would say we have had, I don't know, maybe 5 hearings
So I have to say, you did a good job. I consider you a good friend, and you didn't even tell me about. You didn't even tell me about this until today. So you really were. You kept the secret.
Well,
I consider you a good friend. Wow.
Well, here, I know you're maybe patting me on the back, and if Judge Mark Monson's seeing this somehow, I mean, he was like, "I hope you guys aren't, putting any of this information out in the public." And certainly we didn't. It was illegal requirements, and no, I haven't told anybody about this. And so. We can do that now because again, like there is an order in the case to unseal with some exceptions, and then beyond that, the filings now sit with the Idaho Supreme Court. They just haven't set the oral arguments yet.
So what is she trying to hide? I mean, what is so important to that? I mean, I know you don't know because it is, I guess, some of the stuff, but like, what's your sense? Because you're just you're still trying to figure out the dollar amount, right? That's so like, why would she be trying to hide anything about what people were paid?
Yeah.
So this is something. I'm interested because a defense does not have to, like, let's say that they consulted with somebody and they weren't going to go that route. They never have to disclose who they did consult with if they had other experts and they were just like, okay, that expert isn't going to, they're not seeing it our way or something like that. But they wouldn't offer up a report or anything like that. We would just know that they had talked to that person.
Interest is exclusively about the financial records. We had no intentions of ever getting something that's in a sealed case file that we're not entitled to. I mean, we just want the state and the court system to follow their guidelines and the public records law and release the things that are public records that should be released. So our interests are only in the finances, in how did they spend that $5.5 million. It's a lot of money. It's public taxpayer dollars, and we feel we have the right to do that and reveal that information. As you pointed to, I have never seen any of these records. We don't know what's in the case file. That's the whole point of having a sealed case file. And I just think it's her general interest, and I think this has been a strategy, or at least a process in the past in the state of Idaho. I mentioned the Vallow Daybell case. There is a sealed case file for the same purpose, but because there are appeals, we're not entitled to those. But this would set a new precedent in this state for when a case gets to kind of this scenario and these resource money.
What's her argument? What is her argument? Why aren't you asking what is Ann Taylor's argument? Like, I don't get it. Like, and then you would understand if does she plan on appealing? Like, hello, Brian, ask, well, what's Ann Taylor's argument? Like, what was she arguing? How was she arguing this? If this has been adjudicated and it can never be appealed and blah, blah, blah.
Are now available to the public. So again, it's never been done in this state as far as we understand. Our attorney was like, I've never seen anything like this. The judge in the case, who again was the one who made all the decisions, is the one reviewing it and saying, well, it seems like we can open this thing. He had never seen anything like this, and the Supreme Court is going to end up setting the precedent based on their decision. So I don't know what Ann Taylor's thought process is here beyond just she's trying to protect her client. And
oh my God, how do you not know what her thought process is here? What is her argument, you fucking idiot?
And protect maybe defense strategies and who they hire and how much they cost and all those things. I mean, that's kind of trade secrets you could almost think of. But again,
and she's still making money off of fighting it.
Yes, I believe she is billing for her time to the state to basically defend this case. Now, it is interesting. She has now, there's now a state appellate public defender who is now assigned to the case. So moving forward, she would not be billing because they're basically just using that person's hours. Their salary would go toward arguing this case. But even that office doesn't want to release these things. They feel it's protected work and could jeopardize cases going down the road. So I can't tell you what's in there because I don't know. Nobody's ever seen it except for the judge and the defense team.
Do you know how much there is there? Is there any indication? Like, is it hundreds of pages? Is it?
I don't. I know it's a big case file. That's what we've been told. And the judge has said we're entitled to some, and there are some that are clearly will be excluded and pulled. But then there's questions about which ones you redact for various purposes. But it's incumbent on the defense to make those arguments, not just, hey, carte blanche, that thing should be restricted or exempted.
Right.
He said,
yeah. So what is
he was saying? If you're going to,
so you're just so Ann Taylor's never expressed that, like. That doesn't make any sense. If the dude's staying in prison for the rest of his life and cannot appeal, what does any of this matter?
Object to specific records. I need specific citations, and you have to give me the specifics of why this document can't be redacted and released versus just released.
Yeah, it's interesting that even with it being over and him agreeing to not ever appealing, that it would still be that hard to get documents, especially with the public being the ones who paid. Like, don't they have a right to know what they paid for?
Right. And part of her argument was, well, even though he was an indigent defendant and the defense paid for by the public, if this were a private individual who were paying their own money, that we wouldn't be entitled to such a case file. And I don't disagree with that. But here's the sticking point. That's not this situation. And
yeah, that's not the situation. That's like saying if my aunt had a dick, she'd be my uncle, but that's just not the situation. So she's not, and she doesn't have a dick, and he's an indigent, and so
once you bring on public money, my position, it's an opinion at this point, but my position is once you start spending taxpayer money, the taxpayers have the right to understand how their money was spent.
Yeah.
So to go back to another question you asked earlier, the money, I have an idea of how much she made or how much the other attorney.
So like, this is how I would look at it, is that if you're just talking about, you just want to know financials of it. Yeah. But I would think that you can make it generic. I would say, what was the motion? You know, that she had to write in to be asking for X, Y, and Z. You see the date that was asked for. And then, okay, yep, it was approved. And this is what was allocated. How much money?
He's on her team made through the state process, but I don't know the totals. You asked me about, was it more than $1 million? I can estimate that the answer is yes, but without seeing these.
Oh yeah, it's way more than. I'm sorry, but that's just absurd for people to think that it wouldn't be.
Numbers, I can't tell you definitively. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting when you hear those kinds of numbers and you hear over 5 million spent on the defense and maybe a lot more. It's almost like if he had a private attorney, even one of the best ones.
Wait, but this doesn't make any sense. Where's the 5? How do you even know that it? If he's saying I have no idea how much money it is, then where are you coming up with $5 fucking million?
Like, you know, it's Alan Jackson in LA who, you know, was going to represent Nick Reiner and represent Kerry. I mean, I've heard they make like $1 million on a big case. Like,
no, they make more than that.
It almost makes you wonder if it would have been cheaper if it wasn't public money, which is just kind of interesting to think about.
Yeah, I did speak with another criminal defense attorney who actually did briefly represent.
So you're saying like the people should just come together and be like, well, listen, for this case, we want to outsource to, and just give them like, go get an Alan Jackson or, you know, a Jose Baez, and we're just going to flat fee them. We'll give you 2.5 mil to take this case. And there you go. The people are going to start subcontracting.
Vallow, just for a short window. She can't talk to me about those things, which I respect. But I talked to her and she said, gosh, Brian Covert probably, because he didn't have that kind of money. I mean, who does, right? And she said, you know, he got a better defense than he probably otherwise could have afforded, even if he had money and was not indigent.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to think about. And just lastly, I mean, maybe it's just the journalist geek in me, but I don't think people always realize like how important local journalism is, how important newspapers are. Like no one even realized that you guys were spending all of this money and time for months fighting for these and you continue fighting for these documents.
Wait, are you fucking are you kidding? Whoa, what? You know what? I'm going to audit myself. We're going to audit Truth and Transparency. He's so full of shit right now. He is so full of fucking shit because I know he watches my channel. That's insane. You know, have you spent a goddamn dollar, Mr. Etten, in any of the FOIA requests? Or do you get all these agencies or newspaper that because you're not independent, you can say Brian Etten investigates all the fuck you want. You have a name, 2 of them attached to you.
And just lastly, I mean, maybe it's just the journalist geek in me, but I don't think people always realize like how important local journalism is, how important newspapers are. Like no one even realized that you guys were spending all of this money and time for months fighting for these and you continue fighting for these documents, which takes a lot of money to do, really for the public's benefit.
Yeah, that's right. We have spent our own money for the purpose of trying to unlock this document, this file with all of these documents. It's important to us.
Yeah, and you're
us. I'm grateful to my editors for their support in pursuing these, because the thing is, if we're not going to take on this fight and hopefully receive a positive ruling from the Idaho Supreme Court and set a new precedent in our state for these types of case files, again, under these types of circumstances, I don't believe anybody else would. So it's not necessarily a feather in our cap, but I do think it's important. And
he's insane. What about Iwu? Like, this is crazy. This is called favoritism journalism is what this is. Speaking of missing stuff, long ass pattern there. From Jump, first evidence logs by MPD. Yep. Then we just blow up our own fucking refrigerators and shit because we don't know how to close that. Ass backwards, Idaho. Brian N would make a pimple on an investigator's asshole. Okay, Hobby Master. Oh shit. Alaskan Dragon, there you are. You know, I just don't have any words for this. This is absurd. That's all we've been doing. Like, so many investigative journalists in the Idaho4 case have been busting their asses to try to get all of these fucking records. Give me a break.
You know, we try to be advocates not only for the public, but also for understanding the use of public money. So this
spent on Brian Koberger, the figure, I mean, literally it was like, I was just shocked. I mean, it was way, I knew it would be in the millions, but I had no idea how high it would be. According to an investigation by the Idaho Statesman, they are reporting that public money on the case exceeds $8 million. $8 million.
And listen, it exceeds $8 million because Idaho is dumb as fuck. Okay? Whoever is budgeting, whoever is doing it, they suck. Okay? This is mismanagement out of the ass. All right. Now, if you're able to say that it's more than $8 million, think about this. How can you make this claim? How can you make this claim if you're saying that you don't have the documents? Capiche? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Is that an estimate?
Dollars spent on Brian Koberger and his defense and his trial overall. There was no trial.
A trial overall. Yeah, okay. There's no trial.
But his case, I guess I should say.
it's
Koberger, remember, admitted to killing Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Ethan Chapin, and Xander Kernodle in Moscow. I don't think like, oh, in a big long trial. Remember, there wasn't even a trial. Remember, Koberger could not afford his own legal defense, just even at that moment, which is a higher, like a high profile private attorney, I'm told, may have cost somewhere around $1 million for the case. Even if it was more, it would still be significantly less than.
I mean, Karen Reed is in debt, allegedly, supposedly. Hers was millions. The public raised over $1 million for Karen Reed.
And, you know, the millions and millions and millions of dollars in taxpayer money. In this episode, I'm going to dig into the numbers with Idaho Statesman investigative reporter Kevin Fixler. It's really interesting to hear.
How can you dig into the numbers when there are no numbers to reveal? Because I don't get it.
Some of,
like, I mean, I get it, because it's just like, you cannot possibly have numbers because he's sitting here telling you that those documents are what have the numbers. So we were able to know the beginning part because until it switched over, we had access to that first part until it became in Ada County, is my understanding.
Files and documents that are not being released, and those documents released is like public taxpayer money. I want you to hear my full conversation with Kevin. Very interesting. It's ongoing. Hey, Kevin, for interesting, because this is something that I'd always wondered about. And I think a lot of people always wondered about, like, what the total cost was going to be. And we never really knew. And it sounds like, based on all the documents you got, you kind of came up with like an $8 million figure. Is that right?
Yeah, roughly, to the best of my ability, including public records and, emails back and forth with all sorts of.
Okay, so then I don't understand. Okay, what am I missing here? If you know how much money was spent, then what are you suing for? What is there sort of, like, if you know how much money is spent? You guys get it? Like, what the fuck? I'm going to have to email him. No, this does not have anything to do with the federal money.
County and state personnel, we've landed on approximately $8 million, and it's closer to 8.1, but give or take there.
If I'm Brian, like, okay, how do you 8.1? Where did you get this number from? I get that you say public records, okay?
I guess the thing to take away, though, is we don't actually, those are identifiable costs. And so with the prosecution, for instance, we're not including things like the salaries of the prosecutors.
Well, why wouldn't you? Well, I get it, because you're saying, like, I get that. I wouldn't be including that. Like, this is their job.
Because those are salaries that would be paid anyway, but it's just the hours that and time they're putting for it. Other items that are not included are any FBI costs. The FBI keeps that information close to the vest. They don't reveal anything with regards to any of their operations, and they view that as giving away some of those details. There's also no court fees or costs included in there as well, because the Idaho court system doesn't assign specific costs, something like the judge's salary or the bailiff's or the court reporter. They don't include that specific to a defendant, even though we know there likely were heightened costs for the court system tied to this particular case, including additional security and things like that during hearings like the sentencing hearing and the change of plea hearing, which you and I were both at. So those are not included and baked in, but otherwise, yes, the total all in is about $8.1 million thus far.
Is the majority of that money spent on his defense?
Yes, actually. So about $5.5 million was what the defense expenditures included. And we know that those are for the attorneys themselves, but also for all the expert witnesses and the investigators and all the work that was done as they were building toward trial, which obviously didn't happen. But yeah, all in. And I know that cost is firm. We know that roughly 5.5. And what's interesting about that is that Latah County was actually responsible for, it would have been all of it, but it ended up being about half. And I'll explain that in a moment. And then there was the creation of a state public defender's office in the state of Idaho. A transition. There was a new state law that switched it from a county-based system where they fund the defense for someone like an indigent defendant like Brian Koberger. And then
okay, well then, if you know that's $8 million, what else do you need? What else do you want? What documents do you want? Makes no sense. Okay. Sorry, but they asked for this when they had a secret grand jury. They asked for all of this when they went ahead and lied. When they lied for probable cause, But we included the tearing down of the house. We included so basically he just went around and this is what he did. You guys, this is what he did. By Jilly. You guys, he went around and anything that he asked for a bunch of emails. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to FOIA. I'm going to do a public request for everything that Kevin Fixler asked for. Did I tell you some woman did that over in, I forget what, I don't know if it was WSU. It was in Washington. And she just calls in and she's just like, I want everything. She's like, Atlanta has stuff that I don't have. I want everything that Atlanta has. And they're over here like, who the fuck is Lana? So what I think he did to realize this is he just went and wrote anything that went on in this case, anything they had to go and do. But in the article, does he put out like all the receipts? Can you guys imagine if I just came out of my channel and was like, hey, it's $8 million and I didn't show you guys a single fucking receipt? Like, that's what I don't understand. I don't get it. The YouTube channel said she wanted everything related to this case. She said, Ewu. Green got to write a book. He just wanted his house back and then he burned it down to the ground. They think people will believe them. I just think it's crazy. Hey guys, welcome to the transparency. Let me tell you something. The case against Brian Koberger, all inclusive, 8.1 mil. How do you know that? I did a bunch of FOIA requests. But can we see them? Like, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, is any of this documentation like anywhere? Like when he's doing any of his printing, can you be like a Patreon member? And like, there's the links. There's like and you can pay to like see these docs, so see how he did his math. I mean, I understand in Idaho, clearly Brian Enton got some information because he's over here asking questions about, I heard that this was 16,000 and that they're not getting anything back. I don't know. If he already knows that it costs $8.1 million, he's like, well, we want the breakdown of it. Well, it seems like he got the breakdown of it. Maybe he can only account for so much, but where are you getting the 8 million then? It just doesn't make sense to me. It's like you already know it. Like $8 million. Where'd that come from? Where the fuck is the $8 million? You know how much money $8 million is? Oda Mae Brown. $4 million, Sam. Sam Wheat. You want me to sign over $4 million? $4 million. Whoopi Goldberg. Sam Wheat. Oda Mae Brown. Molly, you in danger, girl. You need to stay away from Carl. Carl's trying to fuck you. And that was my best friend. And then I got shot by Willie. If you're meeting me, nope, we just know others also researching. Oh no, I have no idea. Who's me? Who's me? $2 million. You gotta write that on over that charity right there, and you're gonna put it in that little jingle bells. All right, guys. Have a good night. We are done here. We'll be back tomorrow. We got more. Party at Matt's. Get your cocaine. Get your bumps. Get your Fetty. Blue powder. See you on the next one. Peace out.